Buddhist teachers often tell us that karma is one of the most powerful forces in our lives. They say that karma shapes our destiny, including who we end up marrying. Although many people believe they marry because of love or attraction, Buddhist wisdom reveals that our marriages are actually determined by much deeper forces that most people never understand. In Buddhist teaching, it's said that not everyone who touches your heart will stay, and not everyone who stays belongs to your heart. Yet when two people decide to get married, it's never just a coincidence or an accident. In the unseen realm of karma, our choices aren't always made by our conscious mind. Some decisions are shaped by seeds planted long before we were even born. As Buddha taught us, everything that has a beginning has a cause, and everything that arises depends on something else. This truth, known as dependent origination, also explains the mystery of why two souls come together in marriage. So friends, today I'll share with you the deeper wisdom behind marriage and karma, and how understanding these truths can transform your relationship and bring you lasting peace. When most people think about marriage, they imagine finding their perfect match, someone who makes them happy and completes them. But the Buddhist perspective shows us something far more profound. Marriage isn't just about finding happiness or companionship. It's about encountering the person who will help you grow spiritually, even if that growth comes through challenges and difficulties. According to Buddhist wisdom, love is not always the foundation of a marriage. Sometimes we marry because of karmic debt. Sometimes we marry to learn important lessons. Sometimes our partner serves as a mirror, showing us everything we refuse to see about ourselves. And only sometimes, marriage can be a path towards spiritual liberation. Once there was a couple who seemed very different from each other. They argued often and struggled to understand each other. People who knew them wondered why they stayed together when they seemed so mismatched. One day, the husband visited a wise Buddhist monk and asked, "Why am I married to someone who challenges me so much? We love each other, but our relationship feels like a constant struggle." The monk smiled kindly and replied, "Because karma doesn't bind you to comfort, it binds you to clarity. Marriage isn't about finding someone who completes you. It's about meeting the soul who triggers your unfinished work." The man was surprised. He had always thought marriage should just make him happy. The monk continued, "Somewhere in this life or another, a seed was planted between you two. That seed grew into a pattern. That pattern needed a mirror to be seen clearly. That mirror appeared as your wife." In Buddhist teachings, karma isn't just about actions. It's also about the results of those actions. The experiences we go through are often the fruits of our previous intentions. The person you marry carries your unresolved karma, not to punish you, but to teach you important lessons. The stronger your connection with someone, the more significant the lesson they bring. You don't just marry a person, you marry your past with them. Have you ever wondered why you feel drawn to certain people, sometimes in ways that don't make logical sense? Long before marriage vows are spoken, our hearts often feel pulled towards specific individuals, sometimes rationally, sometimes irrationally, sometimes even against our better judgment. Many think this is just love or chemistry, but Buddhist wisdom tells us it's actually something called karmic resonance. This resonance doesn't come from the present moment, but from echoes that originated long ago in previous lifetimes. I'll share a story that helps explain this concept. In a small town, a quiet woman found herself strongly attracted to a man who often made her cry more than smile. Her friends warned her against the relationship. Her mind knew it might be unwise, but her heart followed an invisible pull she couldn't explain. Eventually, she married him. As time passed, she endured betrayal, silence, and emotional coldness in the relationship. She constantly wondered why love felt more like a wound than warmth and comfort. One day, searching for answers, she visited a temple. The old caretaker listened to her story and then said something profound. What you call attraction was actually recognition, not of the soul's beauty, but of its burden. You recognized someone who owed you a debt of pain, and the universe gave you front row seats to its repayment. Confused and hurting, she asked, "Does this mean I'm just meant to suffer?" The caretaker replied wisely, "No, you're meant to awaken. You aren't suffering because of him. You're suffering because of the attachment your karma still holds. The moment you learn the lesson, the pain transforms into freedom." This teaches us that attraction often serves as the doorway to karma's lessons. Not everyone who attracts you is meant to stay in your life permanently. And not everyone who stays is meant to bring you only joy. Some people enter our lives specifically to remind us of patterns still governing our inner world that need healing. Buddhist teachings emphasize that desire is the root of suffering. When marriage is born from unconscious desire rather than conscious awareness, it often amplifies karmic lessons until we finally become aware of what we need to learn. Another important aspect of karmic marriage is the echo of promises made and broken across lifetimes. Imagine two souls who once loved each other deeply, but one abandoned the other without explanation. In a different life, they might be brought together again, but this time, the one who abandoned becomes the one who gets abandoned. This isn't karma's punishment, it's restoration of balance. A woman once sat weeping in a meditation hall because her husband had left her for someone else. Her heart was shattered by this betrayal. The teacher asked her gently, "Can you remember a time when you left someone who needed you the most?" After hesitating, she nodded. The teacher said, "Your soul remembered that. That's why your love ran so deep, because it wasn't just love. It was guilt seeking redemption." Many marriages aren't new beginnings. They're continuations of previous connections. Buddhist wisdom teaches about samsara, the cycle of birth and rebirth, which applies not only to bodies, but also to emotions, desires, and karmic debts. If a promise made in one life is broken, it seeks fulfillment in another. Marriage is often karma's sacred attempt to restore balance to these broken vows. Have you noticed how some people seem perfect for each other in many ways, yet their relationship is filled with conflict? They might share beautiful moments together, but their marriage becomes a battlefield despite seeming like an ideal match to everyone else. It feels like trying to hold water with open fingers, impossible to maintain no matter how hard they try. A man once asked a Zen master during a quiet retreat, "We love each other deeply, but we fight every day. Should I leave this relationship?" The master replied with surprising insight, "Your souls met too early. She's still becoming the person who will understand you, and you're still shedding the person who cannot accept her. You met in love, but not in readiness." This reveals another dimension of karma in marriage: timing. Karma doesn't only decide who enters your life, it also determines when they enter. Two souls might be perfect for each other in essence, but if they meet at the wrong time in their spiritual evolution, harmony becomes difficult. From a Zen perspective, it's not enough just to meet the right person. Both individuals must be equally prepared, empty of ego and full of presence. In the deepest sense, marriage isn't primarily about companionship or emotional comfort. Its true purpose is spiritual reflection. A genuine spiritual partner isn't someone who simply agrees with you and makes you feel good about yourself. Rather, they help you see your shadows and areas that need growth. True partners don't just soothe your wounds, they reveal them so they can be healed. A monk once shared this parable with his students. A candle married the wind. The wind asked, "Will you love me even when I blow you out?" The candle replied, "Yes, for only in darkness will I know the strength of my own flame." The monk then explained, "This is the essence of karmic marriage. You don't marry someone to complete you. You marry them so you may recognize your own completeness through joy, yes, but often through friction and challenges." From the Buddhist perspective, everything is impermanent, including relationships. But what you gain through a relationship can be eternal if it awakens wisdom within you. The highest purpose of marriage isn't comfort, but consciousness. The right partner in karma isn't who makes you comfortable, it's who makes you conscious of your true nature. Some people believe that a marriage that ends has failed, but Buddhist wisdom shows us that some marriages aren't meant to last forever. They're meant to last exactly as long as needed for the karma to complete its course. Staying together beyond that point doesn't lead to growth, but to stagnation for both people. A divorced woman once visited a Zen garden and confessed to the teacher there, "I stayed in my marriage even after I felt dead inside." Was that noble? The old teacher whispered, "That was attachment wearing a mask of loyalty." As she wept, he placed a lotus flower in her hand and said, "The lotus doesn't bloom in clear water, it blooms in mud. Your marriage was the mud, your healing is the bloom." Buddhism teaches that letting go isn't failure, it's freedom when the time is right. When the karma of a marriage has fulfilled its purpose, staying attached only creates unnecessary suffering. A wise person recognizes when something has reached its natural conclusion and accepts it with gratitude rather than bitterness. The experience, however painful, has served its purpose in your soul's journey. Deep meditation sometimes allows people to glimpse previous lives, not as fantasy, but as fragments of memory. Many who experience this discover they're inexplicably drawn to certain individuals, only to realize these people once played important roles in their past lives. A young woman once asked during a Buddhist teaching, "Why do I feel like I've known my husband forever, even though we just met 2 years ago?" The teacher responded simply, "Because your soul did know him. Your choice was made before this birth. What you feel isn't nostalgia, it's remembrance." Marriage, in its deeper truth, isn't arranged by logic or physical attraction alone. It's arranged by karma. What seems like coincidence is often continuity across lifetimes. You marry who you marry because your soul recognized a task to complete, a bond to honor, a lesson to master, or a mirror to face. Buddhist teachers tell us that marriage isn't the ultimate goal of life. It's a doorway. Some couples walk through this doorway hand in hand toward enlightenment. Others need to part ways once their lessons together are complete. But either path, when walked with awareness, leads to freedom. A monk once said in his final teaching, "The goal of marriage isn't to make the other person stay forever. It's to become the kind of person who no longer clings." Marriage isn't sacred because of its form or duration. It's sacred because of the opportunity it provides for spiritual awakening. Zen and Buddhist thought don't idolize marriage as life's ultimate purpose. Instead, marriage is seen as one of many vehicles that can transport us toward enlightenment. What matters isn't whether the marriage lasts until death, but whether it awakens us to our true nature. The karma of marriage, when approached consciously, leads to liberation. When approached unconsciously, it leads to repetition of the same patterns life after life. Many people enter marriage expecting only happiness, affection, and shared dreams. When difficulties arise, they assume something has gone terribly wrong. But what if the challenges aren't mistakes? What if they're actually a necessary fire meant to burn away the illusions we carry about love? Two people can say "I love you," yet mean completely different things. One might mean, "You make me feel good about myself." The other might mean, "I choose to grow beside you even when growth is painful." A Zen master once explained this difference by saying, "Attachment says, 'I love you because I need you.' Awakening says, 'I need you because I love you enough to grow through you.'" Attachment always seeks pleasure and avoids discomfort. It clings to the version of our partner that brings ease and rejects the version that reflects our shadows. True love, in contrast, embraces all aspects, joy and pain, light and dark, knowing that through this complete acceptance, the soul expands. In karmic marriages, attachment often disguises itself as love until suffering reveals the truth. When you understand this, relationships transform from sources of disappointment to opportunities for profound growth. When you marry someone, you're not just marrying their words, their smile, or their promises. You're marrying their wounds, all the pain they carry from childhood, past relationships, and previous lifetimes. These wounds don't stay buried forever. They eventually surface in the relationship, often in confusing ways. A man once told a Buddhist teacher, "She said she loved me, but she always pushed me away whenever I got close." The teacher replied compassionately, "Then you must understand. She did love you, but her wound feared love. You didn't marry her alone. You married the pain that lived within her silence." In Buddhist psychology, unhealed pain transforms into karmic patterns that repeat until we become conscious of them. Many marriages struggle not because of a lack of love, but because of unresolved inner wounds that neither partner understands. The teaching here is simple but profound. When marrying someone, remember you're not just uniting with their surface personality. You're walking into the same house as their deepest pain. Unless both partners are ready to face these wounds together with compassion, the relationship becomes increasingly difficult. One of the most powerful aspects of marriage is that it doesn't bring a stranger into your life. It brings a mirror. Everything unhealed within you, every insecurity, Every unresolved belief about your worth will be reflected through your partner. You might think they're criticizing or hurting you, but in truth, they're often just exposing what already exists within you. A woman once complained to a monk, "My husband always criticizes me. He never thinks I'm good enough." The monk asked her gently, "Did you already believe you weren't enough before he said a word?" When she nodded yes, he whispered, "Then he isn't the cause of your pain. He's the mirror reflecting it." Zen teaching tells us, when the mind is still, the world reflects clearly. But when the mind carries self-doubt, even love will feel like judgment. In karmic relationships, our partner often serves as a reflection of our own inner state. The more healing we do, the more peaceful the reflection becomes. The less aware we are, the more distorted everything appears. You can't fix a mirror by shouting at it when you don't like what you see. Instead, you must purify your own mind and heart. This is the path to transforming your marriage from a source of pain to a source of wisdom. Not all karmic marriages come from wounds or difficult lessons. Sometimes they form because of deep gratitude. Perhaps the person you marry once showed you extraordinary kindness in another life. Maybe they gave you shelter, saved your life, or offered help when no one else would. You might return now, not primarily out of romantic love, but because your soul remembers and wishes to repay this kindness. A Buddhist teacher once shared this insight. If you observe someone who stays in a marriage without romantic love but cannot leave, watch closely. It may not be fear or obligation that binds them. It may be an invisible gratitude that the soul cannot ignore. Gratitude in the karmic field is extremely powerful. One act of genuine kindness planted in a past life can blossom into a bond in this one. While some people in such marriages feel trapped, the enlightened view is to recognize the gift being repaid. Completion doesn't come through endurance or guilt, but through conscious appreciation. Once the debt is honored with awareness and love, the soul becomes free to move forward. When two highly conscious souls come together in marriage, something extraordinary happens. Their union becomes a path not of emotional drama, but of spiritual expansion. A master once told his students, "When two souls marry not to fill each other's emptiness, but to serve the world together, karma bows in reverence." Such marriages aren't focused on what one person gets from the other, but on what they build together to benefit others. These are rare and deeply transformative relationships. In Buddhist practice, Dharma means truth, path, or mission. Some marriages are Dharma marriages. They aren't based on personal gain, but on shared spiritual purpose. These couples don't have dramatic emotional stories of passion and conflict. Instead, their bond feels like a calm, steady fire, purposeful, pure, and consistent. These relationships don't just end karmic cycles. They actually uplift humanity through their example and service. Have you noticed how some people seem to attract the same type of partner over and over, even though each relationship ends in similar pain? When we don't learn the lessons karma is trying to teach us, the same patterns repeat with new faces. The partner's name may change, the appearance may be different, but the suffering remains the same until awareness finally breaks the pattern. A woman once approached a Zen nun in tears, asking, "Why do I always attract men who ignore me emotionally?" The nun replied with gentle wisdom, "Because your soul still hasn't learned to stop chasing silence and start embracing your own voice." Buddhist teachings emphasize that our external experiences are shaped by our internal realities. If someone continually meets partners who neglect, betray, or belittle them, it's not bad luck or fate. It's a repeating pattern seeking resolution. The key isn't finding a new person, it's becoming a new presence within yourself. Marriage stops being painful when we stop being unconscious of these patterns. One of the most profound ways to end a karmic cycle is not by staying in a difficult relationship, but by walking away with love and compassion. When you forgive someone who cannot love you in a healthy way, you're not doing it for them. You're freeing yourself from what might be lifetimes of emotional imprisonment. A wise monk once said, "The most powerful act of love is not holding on, it's letting go with peace." This kind of ending transforms karma completely. It signals to the universe that the lesson has been learned and the suffering no longer needs to repeat itself. Karma ends not through revenge, not through continued suffering, but through genuine understanding and forgiveness. When one person forgives completely, the soul breaks the karmic chain. This allows future relationships to be born in clarity rather than confusion. Forgiveness is often the final and most important lesson in the karma of marriage. It's the gateway to liberation. Friends, who you marry is never random or accidental. It's a profound reflection of your karma, your internal state, and your soul's journey toward awakening. Marriage is one of the most powerful spiritual mirrors life offers us. It reveals how much love, pain, growth potential, and illusion we carry within. Some marriages last a lifetime, while others last just long enough to teach a specific lesson. But all marriages, whether karmic or conscious, hold an important message for your spiritual growth. When two souls meet in marriage, they aren't beginning something new. They're remembering what remained unfinished between them. Let me share some key points we've discussed about the karma of marriage. First, karma leads the soul, not the logical mind. You marry who you do because of past energy, whether that's love, debt, wounds, or gratitude. Second, your marriage always reflects your inner state. Your partner serves as a mirror, not just a companion. Third, lessons often come before peace. Growth is frequently preceded by friction and challenges. Fourth, letting go can be sacred. Some unions end not because they failed, but because they completed their purpose. Fifth, you can change your karmic patterns by becoming conscious, loving, forgiving, and emotionally free. When you do this, you stop attracting pain and start drawing peace into your life. And sixth, marriage itself is not the ultimate goal. Awakening is. Whether your bond lasts or eventually breaks, it's merely a vessel for the real journey, which is always inward. Now, let's delve deeper into how karma manifests in the early stages of relationships. Have you ever experienced meeting someone and feeling an instant, powerful connection that seems to transcend rational explanation? Perhaps you felt you'd known them forever, even though you just met. In Buddhist understanding, this isn't coincidence or just chemical attraction. It's karmic recognition. A young man once told his meditation teacher about meeting a woman and feeling an overwhelming sense of familiarity. "I felt like I'd known her my entire life. We finished each other's sentences on our first date. Is this just my imagination? The teacher smiled and explained, when two souls have danced together before, they remember the steps. What feels like discovery is actually remembering. This immediate recognition can be either positive or challenging. Sometimes we meet someone and feel instant comfort and trust. Other times, we meet someone and feel an inexplicable wariness or even fear, despite them showing no outward signs of danger. Both reactions can be karmic memories surfacing. Your soul remembering either safety or harm from previous encounters. In the Buddhist view, these strong initial reactions are important messages. They're not random emotions, but signposts, pointing toward karmic work that needs attention. The person who triggers intense feelings, whether positive or negative, is often someone with whom you have unfinished business from other lifetimes. Do you ever wonder why some marriages feel effortless while others require constant work? From a karmic perspective, marriages generally fall into three categories: those based on past harmony, those based on unresolved conflict, and those based on karmic debt. Marriages based on past harmony occur when two souls shared positive experiences in previous lives and return to continue their joyful connection. These relationships often feel natural and easy. There's an underlying trust and comfort that doesn't need to be built from scratch. Challenges still arise, but they don't shake the foundation because the karmic bond is already strong and positive. A Buddhist teacher once explained, "These souls aren't learning to love each other. They're remembering how they already did. Their work now is to avoid taking this connection for granted and to use their harmony to serve others." Marriages based on unresolved conflict bring together souls who experience discord or harm in past connections. These relationships often feel intensely passionate but turbulent. The attraction is strong, but so are the challenges. Arguments tend to follow familiar patterns and trigger deep emotional wounds that seem disproportionate to the current situation. The purpose of these marriages isn't punishment, but resolution. Each difficult interaction offers a chance to respond differently than in the past, to choose understanding instead of anger, compassion instead of resentment. When both partners approach their conflicts with awareness, these marriages can transform from battlegrounds to healing grounds. Marriages based on karmic debt occur when one soul owes something to another, perhaps for harm caused or for extraordinary kindness received. These relationships often feel like a strong pull that defies logic. One person may feel inexplicably compelled to help, support, or sacrifice for the other, even when the relationship doesn't bring them obvious benefits. Throughout human history, across different cultures and traditions, marriage has been seen as more than just a social arrangement. In many Buddhist and Hindu traditions, it's understood as a sacred continuation of soul connections. Ancient texts often describe how souls travel together through many lives, playing different roles for each other, but continuing their shared journey of growth. A Buddhist story tells of a king who, riding through his kingdom, felt drawn to stop at a humble home, where a young woman was drawing water from a well. Though they had never met in this life, both felt an immediate recognition. Later, through meditation, the king discovered they had been together in 7 previous lives. Sometimes as family, sometimes as friends, once even as enemies. Each connection had taught them something vital about love, forgiveness, and compassion. This perspective helps us understand why some relationships feel so meaningful and consequential, even when they're challenging. It's not that we're imagining the depth, it's that we're sensing the accumulated history of many lifetimes together. When we view marriage through this lens, we develop greater patience and compassion. The irritating habits of our partner aren't just random annoyances. They're part of a larger story unfolding between your souls. This doesn't mean accepting harmful behavior, but it does invite us to look deeper at what's really happening beneath the surface of daily interactions. Zen Buddhism offers a particularly insightful perspective on marriage through its emphasis on present moment awareness. While karma connects to the past, Zen reminds us that awakening happens in the now. This creates a beautiful balance in approaching marriage, honoring the karmic patterns while not becoming trapped by them. A Zen master once advised a troubled couple, "Your past together matters, but your presence with each other matters more." When you're fully present with your partner, really seeing them as they are now, not as who they were or who you want them to be, karma begins to dissolve. This teaching reminds us that while karma might bring us together with certain people, we always have the freedom to respond consciously in the present moment. Each time we choose awareness over automatic reactions, we loosen karma's grip and create new possibilities. Practicing this presence isn't easy, especially when triggered by a partner's words or actions. But it's transformative. When both partners commit to meeting each other with fresh eyes each day, without the burden of past hurts or future anxieties, the relationship becomes a powerful vehicle for spiritual growth. A simple practice from Zen tradition can help with this. When your partner speaks, try to listen as if hearing them for the first time. When conflict arises, pause and take 3 conscious breaths before responding. These small acts of presence can gradually transform even the most challenging karmic relationships. Let's explore what happens when we resist the karmic lessons our marriage is trying to teach us. Many people, when facing difficulties in marriage, immediately look for ways to escape the discomfort through blame, distraction, affairs, substance use, or simply shutting down emotionally while physically remaining in the relationship. A woman once came to a Buddhist monastery garden, distraught about her marriage. "I've tried everything to make my husband change his hurtful behavior," she said. The elderly monk tending the garden looked up and replied, "When you plant rice, you get rice. When you plant beans, you get beans. What seeds have you planted in this relationship?" Confused, she asked what he meant. "Every thought, word, and action is a seed," he explained. "If you've planted seeds of trying to change him, you'll harvest resistance. If you've planted blame, you'll harvest defensiveness. What seeds could you plant instead?" This teaching reveals a profound truth. Resisting karmic lessons only embeds them more deeply. The more we fight against what our relationships are revealing about ourselves, the more persistent those patterns become. It's like struggling in quicksand. The more you fight, the faster you sink. The alternative is radical acceptance, not of harmful behavior, but of the reality of what is happening and what it's showing you about yourself. When we stop resisting and start witnessing our patterns with compassion, they begin to loosen their hold. This doesn't mean staying in harmful situations, but it does mean facing the truth they're revealing before making decisions. Across Buddhist traditions, there's an understanding that karmic marriage patterns follow certain stages. First comes recognition, that moment of seeing someone and feeling you know them somehow. Then attraction, the mysterious pull toward that person, despite any logical reasons not to connect. Then comes the honeymoon period, where karma is momentarily suspended as both people show their best selves. But inevitably, the karmic lesson phase begins. This is when the real work starts. The very qualities that attracted you now become sources of conflict. The mirror begins to reflect parts of yourself you'd rather not see. Many relationships end at this stage because people mistake it for a sign that the relationship is wrong, when actually it's working exactly as karma intended. If couples persist through this difficult stage with awareness, they reach the transformation phase. This is where real growth happens. Old patterns begin to dissolve as both partners choose new responses. The relationship shifts from a source of pain to a source of wisdom. Finally, there's the liberation phase. This doesn't always mean the relationship continues. Sometimes the karmic work completes and paths diverge. But whether together or apart, both people are freer than before, having released old patterns that would otherwise follow them into future relationships. A wise teacher once said, "The success of a karmic marriage isn't measured by its longevity, but by the freedom it eventually brings, whether that freedom is found together or apart." In our modern world, we often believe we choose our partners based on personal preferences, shared interests, or physical attraction. But Buddhist wisdom suggests something far more profound is at work. The ancient teachings tell us that our deepest attractions and aversions are never random. They're carefully orchestrated by karma to bring us exactly the experiences our souls need for growth. A Buddhist story tells of a princess who could have married any nobleman, but fell deeply in love with a simple gardener. Her family was shocked by her choice and tried to prevent the marriage. A wise monk observed the situation and told the king, "Your daughter isn't making a mistake. Her soul recognizes this man from many lifetimes of connection. There is learning here that her soul seeks, though her mind doesn't understand why." This perspective doesn't mean we lack free will in choosing our partners. Rather, it suggests that our will operates on multiple levels. Our conscious mind makes choices based on what we know and want in the moment, while our deeper consciousness is drawn toward what will ultimately help us evolve spiritually, even if that path includes challenges. Understanding this can transform how we view the seemingly irrational attractions we sometimes feel. Instead of judging ourselves for being drawn to someone who doesn't match our conscious idea of a suitable partner, we might ask, what is my soul trying to learn through this connection? If karma determines who we marry, does this mean we're destined to repeat painful patterns without choice? Absolutely not. Buddhist teachings emphasize that while karma creates tendencies and attractions, awareness creates freedom. We always have the power to respond consciously to what karma presents. A monk once used this metaphor. Karma is like the wind that blows your boat in a certain direction. You didn't create the wind, but you can adjust your sails. You can work with the wind rather than fighting against it, ultimately reaching a destination of your choosing. This means that even in the most challenging marriage, You have tremendous power. You can't control the karmic forces that brought you together or the wounds your partner carries, but you can control your response to them. Each conscious choice creates new karma, more positive patterns that gradually replace the old. A woman practiced this principle in her difficult marriage. Instead of reacting with familiar anger when her husband withdrew emotionally, she began responding with calm compassion, asking what he was feeling. At first, nothing changed, but gradually, as she consistently chose new responses, their entire relationship dynamic shifted. Years later, she told her spiritual teacher, "I thought I needed a different husband, but I actually needed to become a different wife. When I changed, everything changed." This illustrates a fundamental truth. While karma might determine who you marry, it doesn't determine what that marriage becomes. That power remains in your hands through the countless choices you make each day. Sometimes people misunderstand karmic marriage as meaning we're stuck with someone difficult because we deserve it or because it's our fate. This isn't accurate. Buddhist teachings view karma not as punishment, but as education, not as fate, but as opportunity. A spiritual teacher once said, "Karma isn't a prison sentence, it's an invitation to learn. You're never trapped by karma, you're guided by it toward greater awareness. Once the lesson is learned, there's no need for the teaching to continue in the same form." This means there are generally three possibilities with karmic marriages: healing together, healing separately, or continuing the cycle. Healing together happens when both partners recognize their patterns and consciously work to transform them while remaining in the relationship. This is beautiful when possible, but requires commitment from both people. Healing separately occurs when one or both people need to end the relationship to continue their growth. This isn't failure, it's recognition that the karmic lesson has been completed or needs to continue in a different form. Many spiritual traditions acknowledge that sometimes the most compassionate choice is to release each other from patterns that no longer serve either person's highest good. Continuing the cycle happens when people remain together physically, but resist the growth their relationship offers. They keep repeating the same conflicts, blaming each other rather than looking inward. Unfortunately, if the lesson isn't learned in this relationship, similar patterns will likely appear in the next one. Buddhist wisdom offers practical guidance for those wanting to transform the karma in their marriage. First is the practice of mindful observation, watching your reactions without immediately acting on them. When triggered by your partner, can you pause and observe the emotions rising within you before responding? A couple once visited a monastery seeking help for their troubled marriage. The teacher gave them simple instruction. For 1 month, before responding to anything that upsets you about the other, silently count to 10 while focusing on your breath. This basic practice created space between trigger and response, allowing new choices to emerge where none seemed possible before. The second practice is self-inquiry. When strong emotions arise in your marriage, ask yourself, what part of me is being activated here? What old wound or fear is being touched? This shifts attention from blaming your partner to understanding yourself. A man realized through this practice that his extreme anger when his wife was late wasn't really about her tardiness. It connected to childhood experiences of feeling forgotten and unimportant when his parents failed to pick him up on time. This awareness didn't immediately solve the problem, but it changed his perspective completely. The third practice is compassionate communication. This means speaking your truth with honesty while remaining open to your partner's experience as equally valid. It means expressing feelings without accusation and listening without defensiveness. These practices don't guarantee a specific outcome for your marriage. Some relationships transform beautifully through this work. Others complete their karmic purpose and come to a natural end. But either way, you'll carry less karmic baggage forward, creating space for more conscious connections in the future. When we discuss the karma of marriage, we must also acknowledge the special case of marriages that seem to transcend karma altogether. These rare unions appear free from the usual patterns of attachment, expectation, and power struggles. In Buddhist tradition, they're sometimes called Dharma marriages, relationships aligned with truth and spiritual purpose. A story tells of two meditation practitioners who met at a retreat. Neither was seeking a relationship, yet a profound recognition occurred between them. They eventually married, but their connection was strikingly different from ordinary marriages. They maintained their individual spiritual practices while supporting each other's growth. Their communication was remarkably honest, yet kind. Most notably, they seemed free from the possessiveness and fear that plague many relationships. A teacher observing them explained to his students, "What you're witnessing is rare, a relationship largely free from karmic entanglement. These two have done significant inner work in previous lives and now come together not to resolve old patterns, but to serve a greater purpose." Such relationships aren't perfect. Human experience always includes challenges, but they operate from a foundation of awareness rather than unconscious patterns. These couples don't look to each other to fill inner emptiness or heal old wounds. Instead, they join together as whole individuals to create something greater than themselves, a partnership that serves not just their own happiness, but the well-being of others. Most of us begin with more karmic entanglement in our relationships. That's normal and part of the human journey. But understanding that these freedom-based relationships exist gives us a vision of what's possible as we do our own inner work. Let's now examine how cultural and family influences interact with the karma of marriage. While karma operates on an individual soul level, it also flows through families and cultural traditions. The patterns we observe in our parents' marriage often reappear in our own relationships, not just because of psychological modeling, but because of shared karmic patterns. A man once told his spiritual teacher, "I swore I would never be like my father, who was always critical of my mother. Yet I find myself speaking to my wife in exactly the same tone he used. It horrifies me when I hear his words coming out of my mouth." The teacher nodded and said, "Family karma is powerful. The patterns repeat until someone becomes conscious enough to break the cycle." Family karma functions as a subset of our individual karma. The family we're born into isn't random. It's aligned with the karmic lessons our soul needs to learn. The relationship patterns we observe growing up become deeply ingrained. operating beneath our conscious awareness until we shine the light of mindfulness on them. Similarly, cultural expectations around marriage carry their own karmic momentum. In some cultures, marriages are still arranged by families rather than chosen by individuals. From a karmic perspective, this doesn't necessarily interfere with soul connections. Karma can work through any system to bring together the souls who need to meet. A Buddhist teacher once observed, "Whether a marriage is arranged by families or chosen for love, the souls involved have agreed at some level to the connection. The outer form of how relationships begin varies across cultures, but the inner karmic work remains the same." Buddhist teachings recognize that the karma of marriage affects not just the couple, but everyone connected to them, especially children. Children aren't randomly born into families. They're karmically drawn to parents who will provide the experiences their souls need. A Buddhist story tells of a monk with the ability to see past connections. When a couple brought their troubled child to him for guidance, he sat in meditation and then gently told them, "This soul has been your teacher in 3 previous lives. Now they have come as your child to teach you again, this time about patience, unconditional love, and releasing expectations." This perspective transforms how we view the family challenges that inevitably arise through marriage. The difficulties aren't punishment or bad luck. They're opportunities for everyone involved to resolve karmic patterns and grow spiritually. Even divorce, when it occurs, becomes part of this larger karmic picture. Children who experience their parents' separation aren't victims of random misfortune, but souls experiencing precisely what they need for their own evolution, challenging though it may be. This doesn't justify harmful behavior during divorce, but it helps us understand that even painful experiences serve a purpose in the larger karmic journey of each soul involved. An important question arises: if marriages are karmically determined, how do we reconcile this with the Buddhist teaching that all phenomena are ultimately empty of inherent existence? This touches on deep philosophical territory. Buddhist emptiness teachings, shunyata, tell us that while karma creates patterns and connections, these patterns don't have solid, unchangeable existence. They're more like rivers than stone monuments, flowing, changing, and responsive to new conditions. The karmic connections between 2 people are real, but not fixed or predetermined in an absolute sense. A Zen master explained it this way: "The karma that brings 2 people together is like 2 streams merging to form a river. The meeting is neither random nor absolutely fated. It arises from causes and conditions. Yet how the relationship flows after that depends on countless choices made with each new moment." This means we're neither helpless victims of predetermined relationships nor completely free from karmic influences. We operate in the middle path between these extremes, influenced by karma, yet capable of tremendous freedom through awareness. The emptiness teaching also reminds us not to cling too tightly to explanations about why we're with a particular person. All concepts, even beautiful ones about soul connections across lifetimes, are ultimately just concepts, useful pointers, but not absolute truths. The deepest wisdom comes in directly experiencing each moment of our relationships with open awareness, beyond all theories and stories. Let's consider how technology and modern dating are influencing the karma of marriage. Some wonder if dating apps and online matchmaking interfere with natural karmic connections. From a Buddhist perspective, karma works through all available channels, including digital ones. A Buddhist teacher in Silicon Valley was asked if technology disrupts karma. She smiled and replied, "Karma is far more powerful and pervasive than any human invention. If two souls are meant to meet for karmic purposes, that meeting will happen, whether through a chance encounter on the street or an algorithm on a dating app." This doesn't mean all technological approaches to finding partners are equally beneficial. Apps that emphasize superficial characteristics or encourage treating potential partners as disposable options can reinforce patterns of attachment and aversion rather than mindful connection. However, technology that helps people connect who might never otherwise meet can sometimes serve as a karmic facilitator. The key is bringing awareness to how we use these tools. Are we approaching potential partners with mindfulness and respect for the profound connection that might develop? Or are we operating on autopilot, swiping based on conditioned preferences? The technology itself is neutral. What matters is the consciousness we bring to it. A young woman shared her experience. "I was skeptical about dating apps, but decided to try one. The first person I connected with felt strangely familiar from our first conversation. We later discovered we had grown up just blocks from each other, but never met, had attended the same events without crossing paths. It felt like karma had been trying to bring us together for years and finally succeeded through this app." One of the most challenging aspects of karmic relationships is when we feel deeply connected to someone who doesn't seem to recognize the connection or who chooses not to pursue it. This one-sided karmic recognition can be extremely painful. A man once asked a meditation teacher why he felt such a powerful bond with someone who didn't return his feelings. The teacher explained, "Karmic recognition isn't always mutual, at least not in the same lifetime. Sometimes one soul remembers while the other isn't ready to remember yet. This doesn't mean the connection isn't real, but it may mean its fulfillment lies in a different time." This teaching offers comfort to those experiencing unrequited connections. The pain is real and deserves compassion, but understanding that souls work on different timelines can help release attachment to a particular outcome in this lifetime. Sometimes the karmic work needed isn't to form a relationship, but to learn to honor a connection while letting go of expectations about its form. A woman shared her experience with this difficult lesson. "For years, I believed this person was my soulmate, despite their unavailability. The pain was overwhelming until I realized my task wasn't to have them in my life as a partner, but to learn to love without possession or expectation. Once I embraced that lesson, the pain transformed into a strange kind of peace." From the Buddhist perspective, even connections that don't manifest as ongoing relationships serve a purpose in our soul's journey. No true recognition is ever wasted. It always teaches us something essential about love, attachment, and the nature of reality. Let's explore how sexual attraction relates to the karma of marriage. Physical attraction often serves as the initial pull bringing potential partners together. But Buddhist wisdom sees this as just the surface of deeper karmic currents. A teacher once explained, "Sexual attraction is like a hook that karma uses to bring two souls into proximity so their deeper work can begin. The attraction itself isn't the purpose, it's the doorway through which the real purpose enters." This explains why physical attraction alone doesn't create lasting happiness in relationships. Once it has served its purpose of bringing two people together, the deeper karmic patterns emerge, either for healing and growth or for continued unconscious repetition. In some cases, extraordinary physical chemistry indicates a powerful karmic bond, whether positive or challenging. The intensity of attraction often corresponds to the intensity of the karmic work waiting to be done. This doesn't mean passionate relationships are more meant to be than gentle ones. Different souls simply have different work to do together. A spiritual counselor observed, "The relationships with the most intense physical pull often involve the most intense karmic entanglement." This isn't good or bad. It simply indicates the magnitude of the energetic connection between two souls, which can either lead to profound healing or profound suffering, depending on the consciousness brought to it. Understanding this can help us approach physical attraction more wisely, neither dismissing its significance nor mistaking it for the entirety of what brings two people together. Like everything in Buddhism, it's about finding the middle path, honoring physical connection without becoming enslaved by it. Some people wonder if certain physical or personality traits in their partners are karmically significant. Why are we drawn to specific characteristics repeatedly? Buddhist wisdom suggests these patterns aren't random, but reflect karmic imprints from past experiences. A woman noticed she consistently felt attracted to men with deep voices. During meditation, she had a vivid memory-like experience of being lost in a forest as a child in what seemed like another lifetime, being found and comforted by someone with a similar voice. Her meditation teacher explained, "Our attractions often contain fragments of past experiences, either people who helped us or hurt us. The soul remembers even when the conscious mind doesn't." This applies to personality traits as well. Someone repeatedly attracted to highly intellectual partners might be working through karma related to valuing mind over heart. Someone consistently drawn to caretaker types might be addressing karma around dependency or nurturing. These patterns only become problematic when they're unconscious. When we bring awareness to our attractions, we can ask what these patterns are trying to teach us. Sometimes honoring the lesson means continuing to choose similar partners, but with greater consciousness. Other times it means deliberately choosing differently to break a karmic cycle that no longer serves our growth. A spiritual guide advised, "Pay attention when you feel that magnetic pull towards specific traits in others. Your soul is trying to show you something important about your journey, either a healing that needs to happen or a gift from the past that continues to bless you." Traditional Buddhist teachings often use the concept of soul contracts, the idea that before birth, souls agree to certain relationships and lessons they'll experience together. While not explicitly named this way in early texts, this concept aligns with Buddhist understandings of how karma operates across lifetimes. A teacher explained it this way: "Before taking birth, consciousness doesn't forget its previous journeys. In that state of greater awareness, souls recognize what remains unfinished and what connections need to be revisited. There's a level of agreement, not like a business contract, but more like a natural recognition of what comes next in the journey. This perspective can bring comfort when relationships are challenging. If on some level we chose these connections for our growth, even the difficulties have meaning and purpose. This doesn't mean we should passively accept harmful situations, but it does help us approach relationship challenges with less victimhood and more curiosity about what we're meant to learn. A woman who survived an abusive marriage and eventually found healing shared. For years I asked, why did this happen to me? Eventually, through meditation and therapy, the question transformed to, what was this meant to teach me? That shift from why me to what's the lesson completely changed my relationship with the experience. I still acknowledge the harm was wrong, but I also recognize the profound growth that eventually came from it. This soul contract perspective doesn't make anyone responsible for abuse or mistreatment. Responsibility always lies with the person choosing harmful actions. But it does suggest that even within painful experiences, there are opportunities for the soul's growth that we may have recognized before birth, even if that recognition is not available to our conscious mind now. Understanding the karma of marriage isn't about finding someone to blame for relationship difficulties or using spiritual concepts to justify staying in harmful situations. It's about bringing greater awareness to one of life's most powerful spiritual crucibles. Marriage, viewed through the lens of karma, becomes neither a romantic fantasy nor a mundane social arrangement, but a sacred opportunity for souls to heal, grow, and awaken together. When two people commit to this journey with open eyes and hearts, their relationship becomes a vehicle for both personal transformation and service to others. A wise monk once said, "The truest purpose of karmic marriage is to love each other into liberation, not attachment disguised as love, which creates bondage, but true love, which creates freedom." When we approach our most intimate relationships with this understanding, everything transforms, not just our marriages, but our entire experience of being human. Whether you're currently married, single, divorced, or in any other relationship status, these teachings can illuminate your path. Every relationship you've ever had has served your soul's evolution. Every person who has touched your heart, whether for a moment or a lifetime, has been part of your karmic journey. As you continue listening, I invite you to reflect on your own relationships with compassion and curiosity. What patterns do you notice? What lessons seem to be repeating? What might your soul be trying to learn through your connections with others? The answers to these questions contain profound wisdom that is uniquely yours to discover. In the next part of our exploration, we'll discuss practical ways to work with relationship karma, how to recognize karmic patterns as they arise, how to break cycles that no longer serve your growth, and how to create more conscious connections moving forward. We'll also explore the special challenges of karmic relationships in our modern world and how ancient Buddhist wisdom can help navigate them with grace. But before we move on, take a moment to appreciate the profound journey your soul has been on through all your relationships. Each connection, each joy, each heartbreak has been part of a greater purpose, your awakening to your true nature. In the grand tapestry of karma, there are no mistakes, only opportunities for greater love and wisdom to emerge. Remember that while karma may influence who you marry, consciousness determines what that marriage becomes. With each mindful choice, each moment of presence, each act of genuine love, you create new karma, brighter threads in the tapestry of your life and the lives you touch. This is the true power and promise of understanding the karma of marriage. Now let's continue our journey into the deeper wisdom of why you marry who you marry and how this understanding can transform every relationship in your life. For many people, the question arises, if my marriage is based on karma, does this mean I have no free will in my relationships? This is a profound question that touches on the heart of Buddhist philosophy. Buddhist teachers explain that karma and free will are not opposing forces but exist together in a delicate dance. A wise meditation master once explained it this way: karma creates the circumstances and tendencies that shape who you're drawn to, but awareness creates the freedom to respond differently within those circumstances. It's like being born in a certain landscape. You didn't choose the terrain, but you choose how to walk through it. This means that while karmic forces may have brought you and your partner together, how you relate to each other from this moment forward is largely determined by your choices and level of consciousness. Every moment offers a new opportunity to either reinforce old patterns or create new ones. For example, if you find yourself repeatedly drawn into the same arguments with your spouse, karma may have created that pattern, but you always have the freedom to pause, breathe, and choose a different response than the one your conditioning pushes you toward. That moment of conscious choice is where free will and karma meet. A Buddhist teacher shared this perspective. The past may determine what challenges you face in your marriage, but it doesn't determine how you face them. That power always remains with you in the present moment. Now let's explore how to recognize when a marriage has fulfilled its karmic purpose. Many people stay in relationships long after the karmic learning has been completed, simply because they don't recognize the signs that it's time for completion. Buddhist wisdom teaches that there are several signs that the karmic work in a relationship might be complete. The first is a sense of completion, a deep knowing that what needed to be learned has been learned. The second is emotional neutrality, where feelings that were once intense, whether positive or negative, have transformed into a calm detachment. The third is mutual growth. Both people have evolved through the relationship and are ready for their next stage of development, whether together or apart. A monk once counseled a couple who had been through tremendous challenges together and had worked through them with consciousness and care. They wondered if they should remain married even though they'd grown in different directions. The monk said, "The purpose of a boat is to carry you across the river, not to be carried on your back once you've reached the shore. If this marriage has carried you both to new shores of awareness, honor that completion. Some journeys continue together, others were meant to diverge after certain lessons were learned. This doesn't mean we should abandon marriages at the first sign of having learned something or grown as a person. Many karmic relationships are meant to last a lifetime, with the learning and growing continuing throughout. The key is honest self-reflection about whether staying together serves the highest good and continued growth of both people. a wise teacher cautioned, "Don't mistake comfort for completion or discomfort for incompletion." Some relationships are meant to remain challenging because the soul still has work to do through that challenge. Others feel comfortable because the karmic work has been integrated, not because it's absent. Let's address a common misunderstanding about karmic marriage: the belief that suffering in a relationship is always meant to be or should be endured because it's karmic. This is a dangerous distortion of Buddhist teachings. A respected Buddhist scholar once clarified, "Karma brings us the circumstances we need for learning, but it never demands that we remain in situations of abuse or serious harm. Sometimes the karmic lesson is precisely about setting boundaries, valuing yourself, or walking away from what diminishes your spirit." While all relationships include challenges, there's an important distinction between difficulties that promote growth and situations that destroy well-being. True karmic learning never requires ongoing abuse or deeply harmful treatment. Sometimes the most important karmic lesson is learning to love yourself enough to leave. A woman who left an abusive marriage shared her story with a Buddhist nun. "I stayed for years believing it was my karma to suffer this way, that I deserved it or needed to endure it." The nun replied, "Karma doesn't work through punishment, but through teaching. If you've learned that you deserve respect and safety, then karma has done its work. Continuing to suffer teaches nothing new." This highlights a crucial aspect of karmic relationships. They're meant to evolve us, not diminish us. When a relationship consistently diminishes your spirit, health, or fundamental well-being over time, despite genuine efforts to bring consciousness to it, that's often a sign that the highest choice may be to end it, not endure it. Another important aspect of the karma of marriage is understanding how we can create new, more positive karma within our existing relationships. While we can't change the karma that brought us together, we can absolutely transform the energy between us moving forward. Every kind word, every moment of genuine presence, every act of forgiveness creates new positive karma that gradually replaces old negative patterns. This is how relationships that begin with difficult karmic patterns can transform into sources of joy and spiritual nourishment. A couple who had struggled for years with conflict shared their experience with a Buddhist teacher. "For the first 5 years of our marriage, we fought constantly about the same issues. Then we began studying mindfulness together. We learned to pause before reacting, to listen deeply to each other, and to speak with kindness even when upset. Gradually, the old patterns lost their power. Now, 10 years later, our relationship feels completely different, like we've created something new together." The teacher explained that this is exactly how karma transforms, not by ignoring the past or pretending difficult patterns don't exist, but by consistently creating new causes for future happiness through present awareness. Each mindful choice weakens old karmic grooves and creates new ones, eventually changing the entire landscape of the relationship. This process requires patience and persistence. Karmic patterns developed over many lifetimes don't disappear overnight, but with consistent awareness and compassionate action, even the most challenging relationship, karma can gradually transform. When discussing marriage karma, we must also acknowledge that sometimes the greatest act of love is letting go. There's a beautiful Buddhist teaching about letting go with love that applies to relationships that have completed their karmic purpose. A meditation master shared this wisdom. Holding on to a relationship whose time has naturally concluded doesn't serve either person's highest good. Just as a flower isn't meant to remain in bloom forever, some relationships aren't meant to last a lifetime. Their purpose may be complete even when love remains. This perspective helps us understand that ending a relationship isn't always about failure or giving up. Sometimes it's the most conscious choice, a recognition that both souls have given each other what was needed and are now called to different paths. The key is how we choose to end relationships. Doing so with blame, bitterness, or unnecessary hurt creates negative karma that will likely bring similar patterns into future relationships. Ending with honesty, compassion, and gratitude completes the karmic cycle cleanly, allowing both people to move forward with the lessons integrated, but without carrying additional karmic baggage. A divorced couple demonstrated this when they performed a conscious completion ceremony with a Buddhist guide. They acknowledged the gifts they'd received from each other, expressed gratitude for what they'd learned, asked forgiveness for harms caused, and consciously released each other from any lingering resentments or attachments. Their guide observed, "This is how karma transforms. You're not just ending a marriage, you're completing a karmic cycle with awareness and love, freeing both your souls to move forward unburdened." Buddhist teachings emphasize that our outer relationships always reflect our inner relationship with ourselves. This means that healing the karma of marriage ultimately requires healing our relationship with our own being. A meditation teacher explained it this way: "The patterns you experience with others are often mirroring your internal patterns. How you treat yourself becomes how you allow others to treat you. How you speak to yourself becomes how you speak to others. The roots of relationship karma are within." This inner work becomes especially important when we find ourselves repeating the same relationship patterns with different partners. The common denominator is always ourselves, not because we're to blame, but because our own consciousness is the only thing we truly have the power to transform. A man shared his frustration about repeatedly attracting partners who were emotionally unavailable. Through meditation and self-inquiry, he discovered that he himself had a pattern of emotional unavailability, not expressing his true feelings, keeping parts of himself hidden, maintaining emotional distance as protection. As he began healing this pattern within himself, the type of partners he attracted shifted dramatically. This doesn't mean we're responsible for others' harmful behavior toward us. It means that healing our own wounds and patterns creates the conditions for healthier relationships to form. As we develop a loving, respectful relationship with ourselves, we naturally draw in people who mirror that same quality of relationship, and we naturally move away from those who don't. The karma of marriage extends beyond our intimate relationships to include all significant connections in our lives. The same principles that govern why we marry certain people also influence why certain friends, family members, colleagues, and even challenging individuals enter our lives. A Buddhist teacher explained, "Every significant relationship carries karmic significance. Each person who stirs strong emotions in you whether love, irritation, admiration, or fear, is likely someone your soul has known before. They've returned to continue teaching you something important. This wider perspective helps us approach all our relationships with greater consciousness. The difficult boss, the challenging parent, the friend who betrayed your trust, all are playing roles in your soul's evolution, just as you're playing roles in theirs. A businessman shared how this understanding transformed his approach to a difficult colleague. Instead of just seeing him as an irritation to be avoided, I began wondering what he might be here to teach me. I noticed he triggered my insecurities about competence, which connected to childhood patterns with my father. Once I recognized that, I could respond to him from a place of awareness rather than reactivity. Our relationship improved, but more importantly, I healed something in myself. This approach doesn't ask us to accept mistreatment or become passive in the face of genuine harm. Rather, it invites us to look deeper at why certain people and situations affect us so strongly, recognizing the karmic patterns at play so we can respond with greater wisdom. Let's explore how children fit into the karma of marriage. Buddhist teachings suggest that the souls who come to us as children are not random. They're karmically connected to us, often from many previous lifetimes. A Tibetan Buddhist tradition holds that children may have been our parents, teachers, friends, or even enemies in past lives. Now they come in a new role to continue the dance of karma, to teach us, learn from us, challenge us, and love us in ways that further everyone's evolution. A mother of a challenging child consulted a Buddhist teacher in desperation. "Why is raising this child so difficult when my other children have been easier?" The teacher responded, "The souls that challenge us most often have the most to teach us. This child may have chosen you precisely because you have something important to learn from the challenge they present." This perspective helps parents approach difficulties with their children as opportunities for spiritual growth rather than just problems to solve. It also explains why parents often feel such different connections with each of their children. These are unique soul relationships with distinct karmic histories. The same principle applies to the relationship children have with their parents. The specific combination of strengths and weaknesses in our parents wasn't accidental. Our souls were drawn to the exact learning environment needed for our growth. This doesn't excuse parental harm or neglect, but it does help us understand the deeper purpose behind even difficult family dynamics. Many people wonder about the concept of a soulmate or twin flame, and how these ideas relate to the karma of marriage. While these exact terms aren't traditional Buddhist concepts, they point to something Buddhism does recognize, that some soul connections carry particularly powerful karmic significance. A Buddhist teacher explained, "While all relationships have karmic dimensions, some connections do feel especially profound or familiar, like coming home rather than meeting someone new. These may be souls you've traveled with closely through many lifetimes, developing a deep resonance that's immediately recognized when you meet again. However, Buddhism cautions against romanticizing these connections or expecting them to be easier than other relationships. Often, our deepest karmic connections bring our most significant challenges precisely because there's so much shared history and unfinished business. A meditation guide shared this perspective. What many call a soulmate isn't necessarily someone who makes everything easy. Often it's someone who makes everything real, who reflects you so clearly that you can't hide from yourself, who triggers your deepest patterns so they can finally be healed. This understanding helps counterbalance popular notions that finding a soulmate means finding perfect compatibility or ease. From the Buddhist perspective, our most significant soul connections are those that foster our greatest growth, which often includes working through substantial challenges together. The karma of marriage also extends beyond this lifetime, with each relationship creating new karma that influences future connections. How we treat our partners today plants seeds for how we'll experience relationships in the future. A Buddhist teaching says, if you want to know your past, look at your present circumstances. If you want to know your future, look at your present actions. This applies powerfully to our intimate relationships. When we consistently bring patience, kindness, honesty, and presence to our marriage, we create positive relationship karma that will manifest in future connections, whether in this lifetime or beyond. Conversely, when we engage in deception, manipulation, cruelty, or consistent neglect, we create difficult relationship karma that will eventually need to be balanced. This teaching isn't meant to create fear or rigid moral adherence, but to remind us of the power of our choices. Every interaction with our partner is planting seeds for our future relationship experiences. This awareness can help us make more conscious choices, even in challenging moments. A couple who had worked through serious marital difficulties shared their realization. We understood that how we treated each other wasn't just about our current happiness. It was creating patterns that would follow our souls forward. This helped us approach our conflicts with more care and consciousness, thinking not just about immediate outcomes, but about the kind of karma we wanted to create together. Let's remember that these ancient teachings aren't meant to be abstract philosophy, but practical wisdom for living more conscious, loving lives. Understanding the karma of marriage gives us a wider perspective that can transform how we experience our most intimate relationships. When challenges arise, we can ask, what is this trying to teach me? What pattern might be complete in itself here? How can I respond in a way that creates positive karma moving forward? These questions shift us from reactivity to responsibility, from victimhood to empowerment. A Buddhist teacher offered this summary. The karma of why you marry who you marry isn't about limitation, but liberation. It's not telling you that you're stuck with certain patterns, but showing you why those patterns exist, so you can finally free yourself from them. When you understand the karmic dimensions of your relationships, you gain the power to transform them. This understanding doesn't diminish the very real human experiences of love, attraction, compatibility, and choice. Rather, it places these experiences within a larger context that gives them deeper meaning and purpose. Your marriage isn't just about personal happiness. It's part of your soul's journey toward awakening. Whether you're currently in a marriage that feels blessed or challenged, single and wondering about future relationships, or healing from a relationship that's ended, these teachings offer perspectives that can bring greater peace and clarity. By understanding the karma of why we marry who we marry, we open ourselves to the profound spiritual opportunities our closest relationships provide. Now let's dive deeper into how we can work with the karma of marriage to create more conscious, loving relationships. Many of us experience the same relationship problems over and over again, either with the same partner or with different partners who somehow trigger similar reactions in us. Have you ever wondered why this happens? According to Buddhist wisdom, these repetitive patterns aren't coincidences or bad luck. They're karmic lessons that will continue to appear until we finally learn what they're trying to teach us. A monk once shared this insight with his students. The universe is a patient teacher. It will present the same lesson in different forms until you master it. Your recurring relationship challenges aren't punishments. They're the same exam being offered again and again until you pass it. This understanding gives us a completely different perspective on our relationship difficulties. Instead of seeing them as obstacles to happiness, we can recognize them as opportunities for profound spiritual growth. Every argument, every misunderstanding, every hurt feeling contains a hidden invitation to awaken. Let me share a story that illustrates this principle. There was once a woman who found herself repeatedly attracted to emotionally unavailable partners. Each relationship followed a similar pattern: initial interest and connection, followed by increasing distance from her partner, ending in heartbreak when she couldn't bridge the emotional gap between them. After her third painful breakup in this pattern, she visited a Buddhist monastery seeking guidance. The elderly teacher listened carefully to her story and then asked, "What was your relationship like with your father growing up?" Surprised by the question, she explained that her father, though physically present, had been emotionally distant throughout her childhood. She had spent years trying to earn his affection and approval, but never quite felt she succeeded. The teacher nodded and said, "When we have unhealed wounds from childhood, we often unconsciously seek out relationships that recreate those wounds, not because we want to suffer, but because the soul is always trying to return to unfinished business until it's complete." "But why would I keep choosing people who hurt me the same way?" she asked. "Because deep down, your soul is still trying to solve the original puzzle," the teacher explained. "You're not actually choosing partners who will hurt you. You're choosing partners who present you with the opportunity to finally heal the original wound. The problem isn't in the choosing. It's in what you do once the pattern emerges." This insight completely changed her approach to relationships. Instead of blaming her partners for their emotional unavailability or herself for choosing poorly, she began to see each relationship as an opportunity to heal her own expectations and attachment patterns that originated in childhood. This story highlights an important Buddhist teaching about the karma of marriage. We often marry people who trigger our deepest wounds, not because we're making mistakes, but because these are precisely the relationships our souls need for healing and growth. Many Buddhist teachers compare this process to how a pearl forms in an oyster. The oyster doesn't seek out the grain of sand that causes irritation, but once it's there, the oyster responds by creating something beautiful around it. Similarly, our relationships often bring irritation and discomfort, but these are the exact conditions needed for creating the pearl of wisdom and compassion within us. The key is how we respond to these triggers and patterns when they emerge. If we react unconsciously, blaming, defending, withdrawing, or attacking, We simply reinforce the karmic pattern and ensure it will appear again. But if we respond with awareness, observing our reactions, staying present with difficult emotions, and choosing conscious responses, we begin to transform the karma. A wise meditation teacher once said, "Relationship triggers aren't problems to be eliminated. They're signposts pointing to where healing needs to happen." Thank your partner when they trigger you, for they're showing you exactly where your work lies. Buddhist wisdom teaches that every relationship challenge falls into one of three categories based on karma: lessons we need to learn, debts we need to repay, or gifts we need to receive. Understanding which category your current relationship challenge falls into can help you respond more wisely. Lessons we need to learn often appear as recurring patterns that don't resolve despite our best efforts. Perhaps you consistently feel unheard in relationships, or you repeatedly attract partners who can't commit, or you always end up taking care of others at the expense of your own needs. These patterns will continue until you learn the deeper lesson they contain, often something about your own worth, boundaries, or authentic expression. A man once complained to his spiritual teacher, "Why do I always end up with partners who try to control me?" This has happened in 3 relationships now. The teacher replied, "The question isn't why they try to control you. The question is why you continue to allow it. What beliefs about yourself make this pattern possible?" That's where your karmic lesson lies. Debts we need to repay show up as situations where we feel a strong sense of responsibility or obligation toward our partner, sometimes beyond what seems reasonable. Perhaps you feel you must stay in a difficult relationship, or you find yourself giving far more than you receive. These patterns often relate to karmic debts from past interactions where roles may have been reversed. A woman described feeling inexplicably responsible for her husband's happiness, despite his continued poor choices. Her meditation teacher suggested, "This sense of excessive responsibility often has roots in karmic debt. Perhaps in another life, he supported you through difficulties. Now you're balancing that energy by supporting him." But remember, true balancing of karma comes through consciousness, not sacrifice. You can honor the debt without diminishing yourself. Gifts we need to receive appear as unexpected blessings or growth opportunities that come through relationship challenges. Perhaps a difficult breakup leads to discovering your authentic self, or conflict with a partner helps you develop greater emotional resilience. These gifts often come disguised as problems, but contain precisely the medicine your soul needs. One of the most powerful ways to work with relationship karma is through the practice of conscious observation. Most people react immediately to relationship triggers, defending themselves, counter-attacking, withdrawing, or people-pleasing. These reactions come from conditioning and past patterns, not from present awareness. A Zen master once advised a married couple having difficulties, "For 1 month, I want you to practice this. When triggered by your partner, pause. Take 3 conscious breaths before responding. During those breaths, simply observe the sensations in your body, the emotions arising, and the thoughts trying to form a reaction. Then respond from that place of observation, rather than reaction." This simple practice can dramatically transform relationship dynamics because it creates space between trigger and response. space in which new choices become possible. In that space, you can see the karmic pattern as it's trying to play out and choose whether to continue it or do something different. A husband who practiced this shared his experience. I realized that when my wife criticized something I'd done, my instant reaction was defensive anger, not because what she said warranted that response, but because her tone reminded me of how my mother spoke to me as a child. Once I could see that pattern, I could respond to what my wife was actually saying in the present, not to the ghost of my mother from the past. This kind of awareness doesn't just improve your current relationship, it actually transforms the karma that would otherwise carry forward into future relationships. Each time you respond consciously rather than reactively, you're creating new karmic patterns based on awareness rather than conditioning. Buddhist teachings emphasize that karma isn't just created by our actions, but also by our intentions. This means that even when relationship circumstances are difficult, we can create positive karma by maintaining conscious, compassionate intentions. A meditation teacher explained it this way: in any relationship moment, ask yourself, am I acting from fear or from love? Am I trying to protect myself or to understand the other person? Am I seeking to win or to connect? The intention behind your words and actions creates karma far more powerful than the specific things you say or do. This teaching is especially helpful in challenging relationships where external circumstances may not change quickly. Even if your partner isn't responsive to your efforts to improve the relationship, you can still create positive karma through your own intentions and responses. A woman in a difficult marriage with a partner unwilling to change shared how this understanding transformed her experience. I realized I couldn't control his behavior, but I could control the energy I brought to each interaction. I started asking myself before responding, what kind of karma do I want to create here? That question alone changed everything. Sometimes I still get triggered and react unconsciously, but more and more often, I'm able to choose responses that align with my highest values rather than my immediate emotions. Over time, this shift in intention affects not only the quality of your current relationship, but also the karmic patterns you'll carry forward. You're literally creating the causes for more harmonious relationships in the future through your present conscious intentions. Let's explore how communication patterns specifically relate to the karma of marriage. The way we speak to our partners and listen to them is one of the primary ways we either reinforce old karmic patterns or create new ones. A Buddhist teaching says, "The tongue is sharper than any sword." Words can create deep wounds or profound healing in relationships. When we communicate from unconscious patterns, blaming, criticizing, defending, stonewalling, we strengthen negative karmic cycles. When we communicate with consciousness, speaking truthfully but kindly, listening deeply, staying present even during conflict, we create new patterns based in awareness. A monk once gave this advice to a couple seeking help with communication. Before speaking, ask yourself 3 questions. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Words that meet all 3 criteria create positive karma. Words that fail any of these tests generally create karma that will eventually bring suffering. This doesn't mean avoiding difficult conversations. Truth is essential in conscious relationships, even when that truth is uncomfortable. But how we express that truth makes all the difference in the karma we create. A husband shared how this teaching changed his approach. I used to think that honesty meant saying whatever I thought, however I felt like saying it. If my wife got hurt by my bluntness, I'd tell her she was too sensitive. Now I understand that I can be completely honest while still being mindful of how I express that honesty. The truth doesn't need harshness to be true. Similarly, how we listen creates powerful karma. Listening with divided attention, planning our response while the other is speaking, or listening only to find flaws in our partner's perspective creates negative communication karma. Listening with full presence, genuine curiosity, and an open heart creates positive karma that transforms the relationship. Another important aspect of working with marriage karma is recognizing that the most triggered partner in any moment is the one doing the important karmic work. This understanding can completely transform how we view relationship conflicts. A meditation teacher explained it this way. When your partner is triggered, their past is presenting itself for healing. Rather than getting defensive or taking it personally, can you hold space for their process? And when you're the one triggered, can you recognize this as your karma surfacing for attention rather than something your partner is doing to you? This perspective shifts us from blame to compassion, from reaction to conscious response. We begin to see that strong emotional reactions are almost always connected to past wounds and conditioning, not just to present circumstances. A wife described how this understanding transformed her marriage. When my husband would get angry about something small, I used to get defensive and angry in return. Now I'm able to see that his reaction is rarely just about the present situation. It's about past wounds being touched. Instead of escalating the conflict, I can stay present and ask what's really happening for him. This doesn't mean I accept mistreatment, but I can set boundaries with understanding rather than counterattacking. This approach doesn't excuse harmful behavior, but offers a more effective way to address it. When we respond to our partner's triggers with presence rather than reactivity, we create space for real healing to occur, not just of the present conflict, but of the underlying karmic patterns. Buddhist teachings recognize that relationships exist in cycles and seasons, just like everything else in nature. Understanding these natural cycles can help us work more skillfully with the karma of marriage, instead of expecting constant harmony or happiness. A wise teacher compared marriage to the changing seasons. Just as nature moves through spring, summer, fall, and winter, relationships have their own natural cycles of connection and distance, harmony and challenge, growth and consolidation. Many marriages struggle because people expect perpetual summer and become distressed when autumn or winter arrive. These relationship seasons aren't random, but often follow karmic patterns that need attention at different times. Spring represents new beginnings and fresh energy in the relationship. Summer is a time of growth, abundance, and joy. Autumn brings necessary letting go and assessment of what remains vital. Winter is a time of rest, going inward, and preparation for the next cycle of growth. A long-married couple shared how understanding these seasons transformed their relationship. We used to panic whenever we entered a winter phase where connection felt more distant. we'd think something was wrong with our marriage. Now we recognize this as a natural and necessary season. Instead of fighting against it, we use it as a time for individual reflection and renewal. We've found that spring always returns if we honor winter's purpose rather than resisting it. This cyclical view helps us work with relationship karma more patiently. Instead of expecting immediate resolution of difficulties, we recognize that karmic patterns often need time to reveal their full lessons. Just as a seed planted in spring doesn't bear fruit immediately, the conscious choices we make in our relationships may take time to fully transform karmic patterns. Many people wonder how to know whether relationship difficulties are karmic lessons to work through or signs that the relationship has completed its purpose. Buddhist wisdom offers guidance on this important distinction. A meditation teacher explained it this way: the key question isn't whether the relationship is difficult. Many karmically important relationships are challenging. The question is whether the difficulty leads to growth and greater awareness for both people, or whether it leads to diminishment and contraction. Difficulties that serve karmic growth generally have certain qualities. Both partners maintain basic respect and care for each other, even during conflict. Challenges lead to greater self-understanding rather than just blame. There's a willingness on both sides to take responsibility for patterns, and over time, there's evidence of actual growth and positive change, even if progress isn't linear. In contrast, signs that a relationship may have completed its karmic purpose include patterns that remain completely stuck despite sincere efforts to change them. One or both people consistently feeling diminished rather than expanded by the relationship. Loss of basic respect and compassion, or a deep inner knowing that continuing the relationship would require denying important truths or compromising essential values. A woman shared her experience with this discernment. For years, I thought my marriage difficulties were karmic lessons I needed to work through. I kept trying different approaches, getting help, and working on myself. But eventually, I realized that despite all this effort, the same destructive patterns continued, and I was becoming less of myself, not more. I finally understood that the karmic lesson wasn't to make this particular relationship work. It was to learn when to honor myself by letting go. This doesn't mean leaving relationships at the first sign of difficulty. Many of our most important karmic lessons come through working through challenges together. But it does mean being honest about whether the relationship is serving the spiritual growth of both people or becoming a place of stagnation and harm. Buddhist wisdom teaches that forgiveness is one of the most powerful practices for transforming relationship karma. Without forgiveness, we remain bound to past hurts and continue carrying those patterns forward, often unconsciously recreating them in current or future relationships. A monk explained it this way: forgiveness doesn't mean what happened was okay. It means you're no longer willing to carry the burden of resentment and pain. Unforgiveness is like drinking poison yourself and expecting the other person to die. You're the one who continues suffering. This is especially important in marriage, where small hurts can accumulate over time and create walls between partners. Each unprocessed hurt or resentment becomes part of the relationship karma, influencing how we see and respond to our partner in the present. A husband shared how practicing forgiveness transformed his marriage. I realized I was keeping a mental list of every mistake or hurt my wife had caused over 15 years. Whenever we argued, I'd mentally reference this list as evidence that she was the problem. A spiritual teacher suggested I try a forgiveness meditation, systematically releasing each of these past hurts. As I did this, I was shocked to discover how much lighter I felt and how differently I began to see my wife. I could suddenly see her good intentions and efforts in the present instead of viewing everything through the filter of past disappointments. Forgiveness doesn't happen once and for all, but is an ongoing practice, especially in long-term relationships where new hurts inevitably occur. The key is not letting these hurts accumulate into karmic baggage that weighs down the relationship. By practicing timely, genuine forgiveness, we continuously clear the karma between us, allowing the relationship to evolve rather than getting stuck in old patterns. Another powerful practice for transforming marriage karma is cultivating genuine gratitude for your partner and the relationship, including gratitude for the challenges they bring. This shift in perspective can completely change the energy between two people. A Buddhist teacher advised a struggling couple, each night before sleep, silently name 3 things you appreciate about your partner from that day, including one challenge they presented that's helping you grow. Do this for 30 days without telling them you're doing it and observe what changes. The couple was skeptical but agreed to try. After 30 days, they reported significant shifts in how they saw each other and interacted, even though neither knew the other was practicing gratitude. The husband explained, "When I started looking for things to appreciate, I began noticing positive qualities I'd been overlooking. And strangely, when I forced myself to find gratitude for the challenges my wife presented, I started seeing them as opportunities rather than problems." This practice works because it directly addresses one of the core mechanisms of karma, our perception. How we see our partner and the relationship literally creates our experience of them. When we focus on flaws, mistakes, and disappointments, we strengthen the karmic patterns associated with those perceptions. When we consciously direct our attention to qualities we appreciate and lessons we're learning, we begin creating new karmic patterns based on gratitude and growth. This doesn't mean ignoring genuine problems or pretending everything is perfect. Rather, it's about bringing balanced attention to the whole relationship, including its gifts and opportunities, instead of hyper-focusing on difficulties or shortcomings. Buddhist wisdom recognizes that intimacy and sexuality carry particularly powerful karma in relationships. These dimensions of marriage can either strengthen unconscious patterns or become opportunities for profound healing and spiritual connection. A teacher explained, "Physical intimacy amplifies whatever energy exists between two people. If there's resentment, power struggles, or emotional disconnection, physical connection will reflect and sometimes intensify these dynamics. If there's presence, respect, and genuine care, physical connection becomes a powerful vehicle for deepening these qualities." Many couples find that unresolved karmic patterns show up clearly in their intimate life. Areas of emotional wounding or disconnection often manifest as challenges in physical connection. Conversely, bringing greater consciousness to physical intimacy can help heal emotional patterns. A couple shared how this understanding transformed their relationship. "We began approaching physical intimacy as a meditation practice, staying present with sensations and emotions rather than getting lost in patterns or expectations. We discovered that tensions or disconnections that had been difficult to address through conversation often naturally resolved when we brought this quality of presence to our physical connection. This doesn't mean using physical intimacy to avoid addressing relationship issues. Rather, it's about recognizing that body, heart, and spirit are interconnected, and healing in one dimension can support healing in the others. By bringing greater awareness to physical connection, couples can sometimes address karmic patterns that have been resistant to verbal processing alone. An important aspect of working with marriage karma is recognizing that not all patterns need to be processed explicitly with your partner. Sometimes the most powerful work happens within your own consciousness, especially when dealing with patterns your partner isn't ready or able to address consciously. A meditation teacher advised a woman struggling with a pattern her husband didn't recognize. You don't need his participation to transform your side of this dynamic. In fact, sometimes working silently within yourself creates more space for change than trying to get him to see the pattern or change with you. This inner work involves several steps. First, clearly identifying your role in the pattern without blaming yourself or your partner. Second, understanding the needs, fears, or beliefs driving your participation. Third, finding healthier ways to meet those needs or address those fears. And finally, consciously choosing new responses when the pattern arises. A wife described how this approach transformed a difficult dynamic. My husband would withdraw emotionally during conflict, which triggered intense anxiety and pursuit from me. He wasn't interested in discussing this pattern, seeing it as just how he was. I realized I couldn't change his withdrawal, but I could change my frantic pursuit, which was actually making his withdrawal worse. I began working with my abandonment fears in meditation and therapy, finding ways to self-soothe when triggered instead of desperately pursuing connection. As I changed my response, the entire dynamic gradually shifted, not because he consciously participated in changing it, but because my different response made his habitual withdrawal unnecessary. This example illustrates an important truth about relationship karma. Patterns are co-created and maintained by both people, which means changing your participation can transform the entire dynamic, even without your partner's conscious cooperation. This isn't about unilaterally fixing problems, but about recognizing your power to change systems by changing your part in them. Buddhist teachings recognize that our relationship with ourselves profoundly influences our capacity to transform relationship karma with others. Without self-compassion and self-awareness, we remain trapped in unconscious patterns that continue creating the same karmic outcomes. A monk advised a man struggling with anger in his marriage. Before you can truly transform how you relate to your wife, you must transform how you relate to yourself. How do you speak to yourself when you make mistakes? How do you treat your own vulnerability? The quality of compassion you show yourself becomes the template for the compassion you can offer others. This self-relationship includes how we relate to our own emotions, needs, and patterns. Many people are much harsher with themselves than they would ever be with others, creating an inner environment of criticism and judgment that inevitably affects how they relate to their partners. A woman shared her experience with this teaching. I realized I was constantly criticizing myself internally. Nothing I did was ever good enough. This internal criticism was leaking into my marriage as defensiveness and perfectionism. As I practiced greater kindness toward myself, allowing myself to be imperfect and human, I became much more accepting of my husband's humanity as well. Our entire relationship softened as my relationship with myself became more compassionate. This inner work isn't selfish, but essential for transforming relationship karma. By healing how we relate to ourselves, we create the conditions for healthier relationship patterns with others. This includes developing better boundaries, more authentic expression, and greater emotional resilience, all qualities that help us engage more consciously with relationship karma. While we focus primarily on the karma between romantic partners, Buddhist wisdom teaches that we're also influenced by the marriage karma of our parents and ancestors. The patterns we observed growing up become templates that powerfully shape our own relationships, unless we consciously transform them. A teacher explained, "You didn't just witness your parents' marriage as a child, you absorbed it at the cellular level. Their patterns of communication, conflict, affection, and power became your definition of what relationships are, often operating far beneath conscious awareness." This ancestral karma doesn't mean we're destined to repeat our parents' patterns, but it does explain why many people find themselves unconsciously recreating aspects of their parents' relationships, despite intentions to do things differently. A man shared his realization about this influence. "I always promised myself I'd never be as emotionally distant as my father was with my mother. Yet my wife constantly complained about exactly this, that I was emotionally unavailable. Through therapy and meditation, I discovered I had no models for male emotional openness. Despite my conscious intentions, I had no template for how to be different from my father. I had to consciously learn these skills as an adult." The good news is that by bringing awareness to these inherited patterns, we can begin to transform them, creating new templates not just for ourselves but potentially for future generations. This is powerfully motivating for many couples. The recognition that by doing their own karmic healing work, they're not only improving their current relationship, but also helping break intergenerational patterns that might otherwise continue through their children and beyond. Buddhist tradition offers specific meditation practices that can help transform relationship karma. These practices work directly with the mind's tendencies, gradually reshaping our perceptions and responses in ways that create new karmic patterns. One powerful practice is loving kindness meditation, which systematically cultivates good wishes for yourself and others, including your partner. By repeatedly directing thoughts of well-being toward yourself and your partner, you begin counteracting tendencies toward criticism, resentment, or indifference that may have become habitual. A couple who practiced this meditation daily shared their experience. "We started each morning with 10 minutes of loving kindness meditation, silently wishing each other well. Over time, this practice completely changed the background feeling between us. Even during conflicts, there was this underlying current of goodwill that helped us stay connected to our care for each other, rather than getting lost in the issue at hand." Another powerful practice is equanimity meditation, which helps develop the capacity to stay balanced and present, even amid difficult emotions or challenging circumstances. This steadiness is essential for working with relationship karma, as it allows us to respond consciously rather than react from conditioning when triggers arise. A husband described how this practice helped him. I had a pattern of either getting defensive or shutting down when my wife was upset. Equanimity meditation taught me how to stay present with uncomfortable feelings without being overwhelmed by them. I could listen to my wife's concerns without immediately needing to fix, defend, or escape. This created space for real understanding instead of our usual reactive cycle. These meditation practices don't replace direct communication or practical action in relationships, but they create an inner foundation that makes other efforts more effective. By gradually transforming our mental and emotional habits, they help create the conditions for new karmic patterns to emerge in the relationship. Let's explore how to apply these karmic understandings to dating and new relationships. If you're currently single, how can awareness of relationship karma help you make wiser choices moving forward? A Buddhist teacher offered this guidance. Before seeking a new relationship, take time to clearly identify the patterns that have appeared in your past relationships. What types of partners have you been drawn to? What dynamics repeatedly emerged? What roles did you tend to play? This self-knowledge is essential for making more conscious choices, rather than unconsciously repeating karmic patterns. This reflection isn't about blaming yourself for past relationship difficulties, but about honestly recognizing your participation in recurring dynamics. With this awareness, you can approach dating with greater discernment, noticing when you feel drawn to someone who fits your familiar patterns. A woman shared how this awareness changed her dating experience. I realized I consistently chose partners who needed fixing in some way, which set up a caretaker-dependent dynamic that eventually left me feeling depleted and resentful. When I started dating again after my divorce, I became much more attentive to this pattern. When I felt that familiar pull towards someone who seemed to need my help or rescue, I recognized it as my old pattern rather than genuine connection. This awareness helped me eventually find a relationship based on mutual support rather than one-sided caretaking. This doesn't mean seeking perfect partners without challenges, as all relationships will involve some karmic work. Rather, it's about distinguishing between relationships that offer opportunities for growth through healthy challenges versus those that simply repeat old destructive patterns. With awareness of your specific karmic tendencies, you can make this distinction more clearly. For those in the early stages of a relationship, Buddhist wisdom offers guidance on assessing karmic compatibility beyond the initial attraction or common interests that might bring two people together. A meditation teacher suggested these questions for reflection. Beyond how this person makes you feel, what qualities of character do you observe in them? How do they respond when things don't go their way? How do they treat others who can't benefit them? How do they handle their own difficult emotions? These observations reveal more about karmic compatibility than shared interests or initial chemistry. This assessment isn't about finding someone perfect, but about recognizing whether a potential partner demonstrates the awareness and emotional maturity necessary for conscious relationship. Without these qualities, karmic patterns are likely to repeat rather than transform, no matter how strong the initial connection feels. A man shared how this perspective changed his approach to dating. I used to focus almost entirely on whether there was strong attraction and shared interests. This led to relationships with immediate connection, but eventual repetition of the same painful patterns. Now I pay much more attention to character and self-awareness. Is this person willing to look at herself honestly? Can she take responsibility without excessive blame or shame? Is she committed to her own growth? These qualities matter far more for long-term karmic compatibility than the surface factors I used to prioritize. This approach helps distinguish between connections that feel compelling because they're offering opportunities for growth and healing versus those that feel compelling because they're repeating familiar but unconscious patterns. With this discernment, you can make choices that align with your highest intentions for relationship rather than being driven primarily by unconscious karmic pulls. Buddhist wisdom recognizes that some people may be called to periods of being single as part of their karmic journey. Rather than seeing this as a failure or lack, these teachings frame solitude as a valuable opportunity for deep inner work that can transform future relationships. A monk advised someone distressed about being single, instead of seeing this time as waiting for relationship, can you approach it as preparation? This is a powerful opportunity to develop the self-knowledge, emotional skills, and spiritual foundation that will allow your future relationships to unfold from wisdom rather than unconscious patterns. This perspective transforms how we experience being single. Instead of focusing on lack or longing, we can use this time intentionally to understand our relational patterns, heal past wounds, develop greater emotional intelligence, and clarify our authentic values and needs in relationship. A woman shared how embracing this approach changed her experience. After my divorce, I initially felt desperate to find another relationship quickly. A Buddhist teacher suggested I commit to being single for at least a year, using that time to understand the patterns that had shaped my marriage. This was difficult at first, but it became one of the most valuable periods of my life. I discovered relationship patterns dating back to childhood that I'd never recognized before. I developed practices for working with my own emotional triggers, rather than expecting partners to manage them for me. When I eventually began dating again, I approached relationships with much greater clarity and wisdom. This teaching doesn't suggest that everyone needs extended periods of being single, but it offers a compassionate reframing for those who find themselves without partners for a time. Rather than seeing this as a karmic punishment or failure, it can be embraced as a meaningful phase in your soul's journey, one that may be essential preparation for more conscious relationships in the future. Remember that working with the karma of marriage is a lifelong journey, not a destination we reach once and for all. Buddhist wisdom emphasizes that this work unfolds gradually through consistent awareness and compassionate effort. A meditation master once told his students, "Don't expect to transform deep karmic patterns quickly or perfectly. This work happens one conscious choice at a time, one moment of presence at a time." Be patient with yourself and your partner as you learn together. The very challenges that seem like obstacles are actually the path itself. This patience is essential because karmic patterns often have deep roots extending beyond this lifetime. Just as these patterns didn't form overnight, they don't transform overnight either. What matters is the direction of change, not its speed or perfection. A couple married for 40 years shared their perspective. Looking back, we can see how the same basic karmic patterns have been with us throughout our marriage. The difference isn't that these patterns disappeared completely, but that we gradually learn to work with them more consciously. The triggers that once led to days of conflict now might cause only moments of tension before we recognize what's happening. We're not perfect, but we're more aware, and that awareness has transformed our experience, even when the basic patterns still sometimes emerge. This couple's experience illustrates an important truth. Success in working with relationship karma isn't measured by the complete absence of challenges, but by our capacity to meet those challenges with increasing consciousness, compassion, and wisdom. Each time we do this, we create new karma that gradually replaces old patterns, not just in this relationship, but in our soul's journey across lifetimes. I invite you to reflect on the karmic patterns in your own relationships with compassion and curiosity. What recurring dynamics can you identify? What might these patterns be trying to teach you? How might you bring greater awareness to these patterns when they next arise? Understanding the karma of marriage isn't about assigning blame or accepting suffering, but about recognizing the profound opportunities for growth and healing that our closest relationships offer. With each moment of awareness, each conscious choice, each act of forgiveness or presence, you're not just improving your current relationship, you're creating new karma that will bear fruit both in this lifetime and beyond. Now, we'll discover how intimate relationships can serve not just as vehicles for personal healing, but as profound paths to spiritual awakening. Buddhist wisdom shows us that marriage, when approached consciously, can become one of the most powerful spiritual practices available to us. Many spiritual traditions throughout history have viewed marriage and intimate relationships as distractions from the spiritual path. They believed that to achieve enlightenment, one needed to withdraw from worldly attachments and relationships. But the deeper Buddhist understanding recognizes that intimacy offers unique opportunities for awakening that cannot be found in isolation. A Zen master once told his students, "Anyone can appear peaceful while meditating alone on a mountain. But can you maintain that same peace, compassion, and presence while engaged in intimate relationship?" That is the true test and opportunity of spiritual practice. This teaching reminds us that marriage isn't opposed to spiritual development, but can actually accelerate it by constantly revealing our attachments, conditioning, and ego patterns. The very challenges that make relationships difficult are precisely what make them such potent vehicles for awakening. Let me share a story that illustrates how marriage can function as a spiritual path. There was once a woman who had practiced meditation diligently for many years in relative solitude. She felt she was making good progress on her spiritual journey until she fell in love and eventually married. Suddenly, all the peace and equanimity she thought she had developed seemed to vanish as she found herself triggered by her husband's habits and behaviors in ways that shocked her. Discouraged, she visited her longtime meditation teacher, lamenting that marriage had destroyed her spiritual progress. The teacher smiled kindly and said, "My dear, your marriage hasn't destroyed your progress. It's revealing how much of your practice was happening in artificial conditions. Your husband is showing you exactly where your work truly lies. This is not a step backward, but a great leap forward in your practice." "But I feel so much more reactive and emotional than I did when living alone," she protested. "Of course," the teacher replied. "Intimate relationship triggers the oldest and deepest patterns in our psyche. The parts of yourself that you could avoid while living alone now have nowhere to hide. This is not a problem. It's a profound opportunity. Your husband is not an obstacle to your awakening, but a gateway to it, if you approach your reactions as objects of meditation, rather than justifications for continued unconsciousness." This perspective completely transformed how the woman viewed her marriage challenges. Instead of seeing her emotional reactions as spiritual failures, she began recognizing them as precisely what her practice needed to address. Her marriage became her primary spiritual path, revealing with perfect precision exactly where liberation was needed. This story highlights an important Buddhist teaching about marriage and awakening. Our partners often function as perfect mirrors, reflecting back to us exactly where we remain unconscious or attached. The very qualities in our partners that trigger us most strongly are often showing us what we most need to heal or integrate within ourselves. A meditation teacher explained it this way: when you feel strongly reactive to something in your partner, ask yourself, what might this be showing me about myself? Where might I have this same quality in a form I haven't recognized? Or where might I have its opposite polarity that creates the tension between us? This mirroring happens because of the precise nature of karmic attraction. We don't randomly choose partners, but are drawn to those who will reflect our unacknowledged or unintegrated aspects. This doesn't mean our partners are identical to us. Often they carry qualities that represent our disowned parts or unhealed wounds. A husband shared his insight about this process. "I was constantly frustrated by my wife's tendency to avoid conflict. I saw myself as courageous in addressing issues directly while she seemed fearful. Through deeper reflection, I realized I actually carry significant fear of emotional vulnerability, which I was projecting onto her while presenting myself as the brave one. Her conflict avoidance was mirroring my own emotional avoidance that operated in a different form. Once I recognized this, I could work with my own fear instead of criticizing hers. This mirroring function explains why intimate relationships can accelerate spiritual growth so powerfully. They constantly bring our unconscious patterns into awareness through the precise triggers our partners activate. If we respond to these triggers with curiosity rather than reactivity, each one becomes an opportunity for profound self-understanding and integration. Buddhist teachings emphasize that awakening isn't just about transcending the ego, but also about embracing our full humanity with compassion and awareness. Marriage provides unique opportunities for both these dimensions of spiritual development. A wise teacher observed, "Marriage continuously humbles the ego with its demands for compromise, patience, and putting another's needs before our own. At the same time, it invites us to embrace our humanity fully, our vulnerability, our needs for connection, our capacity for both wounding and healing." This dual movement, beyond ego and into full humanity, creates a middle path that avoids the spiritual bypassing that can occur in isolated practice. Many people use meditation or spiritual concepts to avoid facing their human wounds and needs. Marriage makes this avoidance nearly impossible, constantly bringing us back to our embodied, emotional reality. A meditation practitioner shared his experience. For years, I used spiritual practice to rise above my emotions and wounds. I thought transcendence was the goal. When I married, my wife would often say, "You're spiritually bypassing again," when I'd respond to relationship challenges with detached spiritual platitudes. At first, I was defensive, but eventually, I recognized she was right. Marriage forced me to integrate spiritual awareness with emotional honesty in ways my previous practice had avoided. This wasn't a deviation from the spiritual path, but a completion of it. This integration of transcendence and embodiment creates a more holistic awakening, one that doesn't reject any aspect of our humanity, but brings the light of awareness to all of it. Marriage becomes a vehicle for this integrated awakening by constantly calling us back to our embodied, relational nature, while also inviting us beyond our limited self-concepts. One of the most powerful spiritual opportunities marriage offers is the practice of selfless love, moving beyond self-centered attachment to genuine care for another's well-being. Buddhist wisdom distinguishes between attachment disguised as love and true love that creates freedom rather than bondage. A monk explained this distinction. Attachment says, "I love you because you make me happy." True love says, "I want you to be happy, whether or not that benefits me." Marriage offers daily opportunities to distinguish between these two and gradually transform attachment into genuine love. This transformation doesn't happen automatically, but through consistent, conscious choice. Each time we choose our partner's well-being over our ego's demands, each time we offer presence without expecting anything in return, each time we support their growth, even when it challenges our comfort, we're practicing true love rather than attachment. A wife described her journey with this practice. Early in our marriage, I realized much of what I called love was actually need and expectation. I loved my husband when he behaved in ways that made me feel secure and affirmed. When he didn't, my love quickly turned to resentment. Through spiritual practice, I began noticing this pattern and deliberately choosing to act from genuine care, even when I wasn't getting what I wanted. Over time, these choices created a profound shift. My love became much less dependent on what he did or didn't do, and more an expression of my true nature. This practice doesn't mean ignoring your own needs or accepting mistreatment. Rather, it's about distinguishing between healthy needs and ego demands, between genuine self-care and self-centeredness. True selfless love includes appropriate boundaries and honest communication, but comes from a place of genuine care rather than control or expectation. Buddhist traditions teach that our relationships directly affect our consciousness and spiritual development. According to these teachings, the state of our intimate relationships isn't separate from our spiritual practice, but an integral part of it. A meditation master observed, "You cannot be peaceful in meditation while carrying active conflict in your marriage. The state of your closest relationships will inevitably affect the state of your consciousness." This is why relationship work is spiritual work. The two cannot be separated. This understanding helps us prioritize healing relationship difficulties rather than compartmentalizing them as separate from our spiritual path. When conflict or disconnection exists in marriage, addressing it becomes an essential aspect of spiritual practice, not a distraction from it. A longtime meditator shared his realization about this. For years, I maintained a daily meditation practice while ignoring growing tensions in my marriage. I thought I could achieve spiritual peace regardless of my relationship quality. Eventually, I realized the disharmony in my marriage was creating ongoing disturbance in my consciousness that no amount of isolated meditation could resolve. When I finally prioritized healing the relationship, not only did my marriage improve, but my meditation deepened dramatically. The peace I had been seeking through meditation actually came through resolving the relationship discord. This teaching doesn't mean perfect harmony must exist in relationships before spiritual progress is possible. Rather, it suggests that how we approach relationship challenges with awareness, compassion, and honest effort toward healing directly affects our spiritual development. The quality of consciousness we bring to our marriage becomes both a reflection of and contribution to our overall spiritual growth. An important aspect of marriage as spiritual practice is learning to distinguish between pain that leads to growth and suffering that comes from unconsciousness. Not all relationship discomfort is problematic. Some of it is essential for spiritual development. A Buddhist teacher explained, growth often involves pain, the pain of having our ego confronted, of facing our wounds, of letting go of attachments. This pain serves awakening, but suffering comes from resisting this process, blaming, defending, avoiding. Learning to distinguish between beneficial pain and unnecessary suffering is crucial in using marriage as a spiritual path. This distinction helps us approach relationship challenges with wisdom rather than simply trying to avoid all discomfort. Some of the most growth-producing aspects of marriage involve difficult emotions and conversations that we might prefer to avoid, but that ultimately serve our awakening. A husband described his experience with this distinction. I used to think a good relationship meant always feeling comfortable and happy. I'd avoid any interactions that might create tension. Through spiritual practice, I began distinguishing between productive discomfort and unnecessary suffering. I realized some conversations needed to happen, even though they were temporarily uncomfortable, because they led to greater understanding and connection. Other conflicts were just my ego wanting to be right and created suffering without benefit. Learning this distinction completely changed how I approached difficulties in our marriage. This discernment doesn't develop overnight, but through consistent practice and reflection. As we become more skilled at recognizing which discomforts serve growth and which merely perpetuate unconscious patterns, we can approach marriage challenges with greater wisdom, knowing when to lean into discomfort and when to choose a different path. Buddhist wisdom teaches that how we love in marriage directly affects our capacity for universal compassion. The quality of presence, understanding, and care we develop with our partner becomes a template that gradually extends to wider circles of relationship. A meditation teacher described this process. Marriage is like a laboratory for developing the qualities that spiritual traditions associate with awakening: patience, compassion, presence, honest communication, forgiveness. As you develop these qualities with your partner, the person who can trigger you most intensely, they naturally begin extending to others in your life. This explains why many spiritual traditions see the quality of our close relationships as a measure of genuine spiritual development. If our meditation or spiritual practices aren't positively affecting how we treat those closest to us, something essential is missing in our understanding or application. A woman shared how her marriage transformed her capacity for compassion. Before I married, my meditation practice felt somewhat abstract. I could feel compassion for strangers or people suffering in distant countries, but I struggled with the people in my daily life who annoyed or hurt me. Marriage brought all my reactivity to the surface through daily triggers and conflicts. As I learned to respond to my husband with presence and compassion even when triggered, I found this capacity naturally extending to difficult colleagues, challenging family members, and eventually even to people with opposing political views who previously provoked immediate judgment. This progression from specific to universal love reflects a core Buddhist understanding that genuine spiritual development moves from the particular to the general, from the concrete to the universal. By fully engaging with the specific challenges and opportunities our marriage presents, we develop capacities that eventually benefit all beings. One of the most powerful aspects of marriage as spiritual practice is the opportunity it provides for witnessing each other's growth and evolution over time. Buddhist wisdom recognizes that having a compassionate witness to our journey can dramatically accelerate spiritual development. A teacher explained, "When someone who knows us deeply sees and acknowledges our growth, it helps integrate new patterns and insights in ways that aren't possible when practicing alone. Your partner can recognize changes that you might not see in yourself and help anchor new ways of being through their recognition. This mutual witnessing creates a powerful container for transformation. When our efforts toward greater awareness and compassion are seen and acknowledged by someone who knows us intimately, these changes become more fully integrated into our being. A couple who had been practicing together for decades shared their experience. "We've witnessed each other's spiritual journey for 30 years, the struggles, breakthroughs, backslides, and growth. There's something profoundly supportive about having someone who has seen your whole path and can remind you of how far you've come when you forget. We function as each other's memory and mirror, helping each other recognize patterns and celebrating genuine transformation. This witnessing has been as powerful for our growth as any formal spiritual practice. This doesn't mean our partner always approves of or agrees with our choices. Genuine witnessing includes honest reflection that might sometimes challenge us. But having someone who knows our history, understands our patterns, and can reflect both our shadows and our light with compassion provides a unique and powerful support for spiritual development. Buddhist teachings emphasize that true spiritual growth involves not just peak experiences or insights, but their integration into daily life. Marriage provides continuous opportunities for this integration through the mundane activities and challenges of shared life. A Zen teacher observed, "Anyone can feel spiritual during a meditation retreat. The real practice is bringing that same quality of presence to washing dishes, managing finances, making decisions together, and navigating conflicts. Marriage grounds spirituality in the ordinary, which is where true awakening must ultimately live. This integration of spirituality with everyday life transforms even the most mundane aspects of marriage into opportunities for practice. Every interaction, from deciding what to have for dinner to discussing major life decisions, becomes a chance to bring conscious presence to our patterns and choices. A husband shared how this understanding transformed his approach to marriage. I used to compartmentalize. Meditation was spiritual. Daily marriage interactions were just practical life stuff. Then I realized every interaction with my wife could be approached with the same quality of presence I cultivated in meditation. Discussing household chores became an opportunity to practice deep listening. Navigating differences became a chance to notice attachments to being right. Even sitting together watching TV could be an exercise in shared presence. This completely transformed our marriage from something separate from my spiritual path to an integral part of it. This integration doesn't mean turning every interaction into a serious spiritual exercise. Rather, it's about bringing the qualities developed in formal practice, presence, openness, compassion, into the natural flow of shared life. This creates a spirituality that's fully embodied in daily reality rather than separate from it. Let's explore how sexuality in marriage can become a dimension of spiritual practice rather than something separate from it. Many spiritual traditions have either rejected sexuality as an obstacle to awakening or limited it to procreation. But Buddhist tantric traditions offer a different perspective, recognizing that sexual connection can serve awakening when approached with awareness. A teacher of these traditions explained, "Physical intimacy can either strengthen unconscious patterns or become a powerful vehicle for presence, connection, and the dissolution of separate self. The difference lies not in the act itself, but in the quality of consciousness brought to it." This conscious approach to sexuality involves several elements: full presence rather than mental distraction, honest communication about needs and boundaries, attention to subtle energy rather than just physical sensation, and an attitude of reverence for the sacred potential of intimate connection. A couple who had been practicing this approach shared their experience. Bringing mindfulness to our physical relationship completely transformed it from a source of occasional tension or routine into a genuine spiritual practice. We learn to slow down, to be fully present with sensations and emotions, to communicate openly, and to approach connection with an attitude of reverence. This hasn't made our intimate life perfect or removed all challenges, but it has made it a meaningful part of our spiritual path rather than something separate from it. This integration of sexuality with spiritual practice doesn't require elaborate techniques or special knowledge, but simply the same qualities that support awakening in other contexts: presence, honesty, compassion, and reverence for the sacred potential in human connection. When brought into the intimate sphere, these qualities transform physical connection from merely a physical or emotional experience into an opportunity for deeper spiritual connection and awareness. Buddhist wisdom recognizes that maintaining separate spiritual practices alongside shared ones creates the strongest foundation for marriage as a spiritual path. Each person, needs their own direct connection to spiritual resources rather than depending solely on the relationship for spiritual nourishment. A meditation teacher advised couples, "While practicing together is valuable, each of you also needs your own individual spiritual practice, time for meditation, reflection, or whatever nurtures your connection to your deeper nature. This creates a foundation of spiritual autonomy that actually supports deeper connection." This balance of individual and shared practice helps prevent unhealthy dependency while still allowing the relationship to function as a spiritual container. When both people maintain their own spiritual foundation, they bring more resources to the relationship rather than looking to it as their sole source of meaning or fulfillment. A couple described how this balance supported their growth. "We each maintain our daily meditation practice, and we also have practices we do together, from formal meditation to conscious communication exercises to simply sharing insights from our individual journeys. Having both dimensions creates a healthy ecosystem. Our individual practices give us resources to bring to relationship challenges, and our shared practices help us align our energies and intentions. Neither would be as effective without the other." This approach recognizes that spiritual growth requires both individual development and relational integration. The individual practices develop qualities that can then be brought into relationship, while the relationship provides opportunities to test and integrate those qualities in the crucible of intimate connection. An important question arises: how do we maintain spiritual perspective during the most challenging periods of marriage? Buddhist wisdom offers specific practices for these difficult times when reactivity threatens to overwhelm awareness. A monk advised a couple in conflict. When tensions are high, the most powerful practice is often the simplest. Pause, breathe, and remember the larger context of your relationship beyond the current difficulty. Ask yourself, what matters most in the bigger picture of our life together? This brief reconnection to perspective can prevent words and actions you'll later regret. This practice of pausing to reconnect with deeper perspective doesn't resolve the specific issue at hand, but it creates space for approaching it with greater wisdom rather than being driven by reactive emotion. Even a moment of remembering the larger context of your shared journey can significantly shift the energy of a difficult interaction. A wife shared how this practice transformed conflict in her marriage. "We developed a simple signal for when either of us notices we're getting too reactive: touching the heart with the hand. This reminds us both to pause and breathe before continuing. In that pause, I try to remember what I truly value about our relationship and the person my husband is beyond whatever is triggering me in the moment. This doesn't make the issue disappear, but it helps me approach it from a place of connection rather than opposition. The difference in how our conflicts unfold with or without this practice is dramatic. This kind of practice becomes especially valuable during major life challenges that test the marriage: health crises, financial difficulties, parenting struggles, or external stresses that impact both partners. In these periods, the ability to maintain spiritual perspective while addressing practical challenges becomes not just helpful, but essential for navigating difficulties without creating additional suffering through reactivity. Buddhist teachings recognize that marriage isn't static, but but evolves through distinct stages, each offering different spiritual opportunities and challenges. Understanding these stages helps couples navigate transitions with greater awareness rather than interpreting changes as problems. A longtime spiritual teacher outlined these stages. Most marriages begin with the romantic stage where connection feels effortless and differences seem minor. This naturally shifts to a stage of disillusionment where differences and challenges become more apparent. With conscious work, this can evolve into a stage of true partnership, based not on romantic projection, but on genuine acceptance and commitment to growth. The final stage, which not all couples reach, is using the relationship primarily as a vehicle for service and spiritual awakening. Understanding these natural stages helps couples navigate transitions without unnecessary distress. The shift from romantic projection to seeing each other more clearly isn't a sign something has gone wrong, but a necessary evolution toward a more authentic relationship. Similarly, the movement from focusing primarily on each other to also serving something larger together represents healthy maturation rather than diminished connection. A couple married for 40 years shared their experience with these stages. Looking back, we can clearly see these transitions in our journey. The early romantic years were beautiful, but built partly on illusion, each seeing what we wanted to see in the other. The years of disillusionment were painful, but necessary as we confronted reality and learned to love actual persons rather than projections. The partnership that developed from working through those challenges became the foundation for the service we now share. Each stage involved loss of something familiar, but also opened new dimensions of connection and purpose we couldn't have imagined at the beginning. This developmental perspective helps couples take a longer view of their journey, recognizing that challenges often signal growth opportunities rather than problems. With this understanding, each transition becomes an invitation to evolve together rather than an indication that something has gone wrong. An essential aspect of marriage as spiritual practice is recognizing that the relationship exists not just for the benefit of the two people involved, but as a vehicle for serving others. Buddhist wisdom sees the most mature form of relationship as one that becomes a source of compassion and service, extending far beyond the couple themselves. A teacher explained, "A spiritually mature marriage becomes more than the sum of its parts. It creates a unique energy field that affects everyone it touches." The harmony, understanding, and compassion developed between two people naturally begins flowing outward, benefiting family, community, and beyond. This perspective transforms how we view the purpose of marriage, not just as a source of personal fulfillment or even individual spiritual growth, but as a foundation for greater service and positive impact in the world. The quality of presence and love developed between partners becomes a resource that naturally extends to others. A couple described their experience with this evolution. As our relationship matured, we found ourselves naturally wanting to share the fruits of our work together. The communication skills, conflict resolution approaches, and capacity for compassion we developed became resources we could offer others. We began mentoring younger couples, supporting community projects together, and finding various ways to channel the energy of our connection towards service. This outward focus actually deepened our connection rather than diminishing it. We found more meaning in being a team, serving something larger than in just focusing on our own relationship. This doesn't mean every couple must engage in formal teaching or public service. The outward expression of relationship energy takes many forms, from how parents model healthy relationship for their children to how a couple's home becomes a place of welcome and support for friends and family, to more structured forms of service or teaching. What matters is the recognition that the fruits of relationship work aren't meant to be hoarded but shared in whatever ways are authentic for each couple. Buddhist wisdom offers specific guidance for approaching the inevitable endings that occur in relationships, whether through separation, divorce, or death. These teachings emphasize that how we handle endings profoundly affects the karma we carry forward. A meditation teacher advised, even when a relationship ends in its current form, how you complete it determines whether you truly resolve the karma or carry it forward into future connections. Conscious completion involves acknowledging what the relationship gave you, taking responsibility for your role in difficulties, expressing genuine gratitude, and consciously releasing any remaining resentment or attachment. This conscious approach to endings transforms them from merely painful losses to opportunities for completion and integration. By fully acknowledging both the gifts and challenges of the relationship, we can extract the learning it offered and move forward without the weight of unresolved karma. A woman shared her experience with conscious completion after divorce. After the initial pain and anger subsided, I worked with a spiritual counselor to consciously complete the relationship. I wrote letters, which I didn't necessarily send, acknowledging what I'd received from the marriage, taking responsibility for my contributions to its difficulties, expressing forgiveness for harms experienced, and consciously releasing my ex-husband from any emotional obligations. This process transformed my experience from bitter ending to completed chapter. Though the marriage was over, I could honor what it had given me and move forward without carrying its unresolved energy into my future. This approach is equally valuable when relationships end through death. The conscious acknowledgement of what the relationship provided, expression of gratitude, completion of any unfinished emotional business, and gradual release of attachment creates the conditions for the soul connection to evolve appropriately, rather than remaining frozen in unresolved patterns. As we consider the spiritual dimensions of marriage, Buddhist wisdom reminds us that awakening ultimately transcends all specific forms, including the form of marriage itself. The highest purpose of relationship isn't to perfect the relationship, but to use it as a vehicle for recognizing our true nature beyond all conditional forms. A Zen master explained, "The ultimate purpose of marriage as spiritual practice isn't to create a perfect relationship, but to use the relationship as a mirror for recognizing what exists beyond all relationships. Your essential nature that isn't dependent on any external condition for its completeness or peace." This perspective helps us hold marriage in a balanced way, honoring its profound importance in our human journey, while also recognizing that our deepest fulfillment doesn't ultimately depend on any external relationship, however beautiful or meaningful. The relationship serves awakening precisely by helping us recognize what transcends it. A longtime practitioner shared his understanding of this paradox. Through the depth of connection with my wife, I've actually discovered something that exists prior to and beyond our specific relationship, a capacity for love and presence that's intrinsic to my nature, not dependent on her or anyone else. Ironically, the very depth of our relationship has helped reveal what transcends it. This doesn't diminish our connection, but places it in a larger context. I now love my wife, both as my specific, irreplaceable partner and as a manifestation of the universal love that exists beyond all particular forms. This recognition doesn't devalue the specific relationship, but liberates it from impossible expectations. When we understand that no human relationship, however wonderful, can be the source of our ultimate fulfillment or security, we free our partners from the burden of providing what only awakening to our true nature can offer. This freedom actually allows the relationship to flourish in a healthier way, appreciated for exactly what it is, rather than asked to be what it cannot. Let's conclude our exploration with a practical framework for approaching marriage as a spiritual path, integrating the Buddhist wisdom we've explored throughout these teachings. This approach involves 5 interconnected elements that together create a foundation for using intimate relationship as a vehicle for awakening. First is conscious intention, regularly clarifying and recommitting to viewing your marriage primarily as an opportunity for spiritual growth, rather than just emotional fulfillment or practical convenience. This intention doesn't negate other aspects of relationship, but places them in a larger context that brings meaning to both joys and challenges. A couple shared how they maintain this intention. Every morning, we take a moment to join hands and remember our deeper purpose together. This brief connection reminds us that beyond the day's practical activities and challenges, we're on a spiritual journey together. This simple practice helps maintain perspective when difficulties arise. Second is ongoing self-awareness, consistently observing your own patterns, triggers, and attachments as they emerge in the relationship, rather than focusing primarily on your partner's behavior or the external situation. This self-reflection transforms blame into responsibility and reactivity into conscious choice. A husband described this practice. I've developed the habit of asking myself one question whenever I feel upset with my wife. What is this revealing about me? This doesn't mean ignoring legitimate concerns about behaviors or situations, but it ensures I'm addressing my own patterns along with external circumstances. This question has revealed layers of conditioning I might never have recognized without the triggers our relationship provides. Third is compassionate communication. Expressing your truth with both honesty and care while remaining genuinely receptive to your partner's experience. This communication style embraces both authenticity and connection rather than sacrificing either for the other. A wife shared her approach. We've learned to begin difficult conversations by each sharing our experience without interpretation or blame, simply what we're feeling and needing in the situation. This creates a foundation of understanding before moving to problem solving. The difference between conversations that begin this way and those that start with criticism or demands is remarkable. Fourth is practice in daily life, bringing qualities of presence, patience, forgiveness, and compassion into ordinary interactions rather than reserving spiritual practice for formal meditation or special occasions. This integration transforms everyday life into continuous opportunity for growth. A longtime practitioner explained, "I realized my spiritual practice couldn't be separated from how I treated my wife in daily interactions, making coffee together in the morning, discussing household decisions, navigating different preferences. All these became opportunities to practice presence and kindness. This transformed our daily life from something separate from spiritual practice to an integral part of it." Fifth is balance between autonomy and connection, maintaining your individual spiritual foundation while also creating shared practices and purposes. This balance prevents unhealthy dependency while fostering meaningful connection and alignment. A couple described their approach. "We each maintain our own meditation practice and periodically attend different retreats that speak to our individual paths. We also have shared practices, from meditation to service work to conscious communication exercises. This combination of individual and shared spiritual life creates a healthy ecosystem that supports both personal growth and deepening connection. These 5 elements, conscious intention, ongoing self-awareness, compassionate communication, practice in daily life, and balance between autonomy and connection, create a framework for approaching marriage as a spiritual path. While perfectly implementing all aspects isn't realistic, the sincere effort to bring these qualities into your relationship transforms it from merely a social arrangement to a powerful vehicle for awakening. As we complete our exploration of the karma of marriage, I want to leave you with this final perspective. While understanding the karmic dimensions of relationships offers profound insight, the ultimate spiritual opportunity of marriage lies not in the past, but in the present moment, in your capacity to meet each interaction with fresh awareness rather than conditioned patterns. A Buddhist master summed up this wisdom. Yes, karma has brought you and your partner together for specific learning. But true liberation comes not from understanding the past causes, but from bringing full presence to this moment. With each breath, each interaction, you have the opportunity to respond from awakened awareness rather than karmic conditioning. This is how the cycle transforms, not through analysis of the past, but through presence now. This teaching reminds us that while understanding karmic patterns is valuable, getting lost in analyzing the past can actually become another form of avoidance. The real opportunity always exists in this moment's choice, the choice to respond with conscious awareness rather than unconscious reaction, with compassion rather than judgment, with presence rather than distraction. A woman shared her realization about this teaching. After spending years trying to understand why my husband and I had certain repetitive conflicts, I had a profound insight during meditation. The origins of our patterns mattered far less than my capacity to meet him with presence in this moment. Understanding our karma created context, but freedom came through present awareness. When I stopped focusing on why we triggered each other and simply practiced being fully present when triggers arose, our entire relationship began to transform. This balance between understanding patterns and practicing presence creates the most powerful approach to marriage as a spiritual path. We use our understanding of karma not to dwell in the past, but to bring greater awareness to present choices, gradually replacing unconscious reactions with conscious responses that create new, more liberated patterns moving forward. Friends, we've now completed our exploration of the karma of marriage, why you marry who you marry, and how this understanding can transform your relationships. We've discovered that marriages aren't random, but karmically precise arrangements designed to bring exactly the lessons, challenges, and opportunities your soul needs for its evolution. We've explored how to recognize karmic patterns in relationships, how to work with them consciously, and how to gradually transform them through awareness and compassionate action. We've seen how marriage can function not just as a social arrangement, but as a powerful spiritual path that accelerates awakening through its unique combination of intimacy, challenge, and opportunity for practice in daily life. Whether you're currently married, in a relationship, or single, these teachings offer wisdom that can transform how you approach all your connections. By understanding the karmic dimensions of relationships, you gain perspective that helps you respond to both joys and challenges with greater awareness and compassion. Remember that while karma may determine who you're drawn to marry, consciousness determines what that marriage becomes. With each mindful breath, each moment of presence, each act of forgiveness or compassion, you create new karma that gradually replaces old patterns. This is the profound opportunity marriage offers. Not just happiness in the conventional sense, but liberation from unconscious patterns and awakening to your true nature. As you continue your journey, I invite you to approach your relationships with gentle curiosity rather than judgment, with patient presence rather than reactivity, with genuine compassion for both yourself and others. The karmic patterns that have shaped your relationships aren't punishments, but opportunities, precise invitations to heal, grow, and awaken. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of the karma of marriage. May these teachings bring greater awareness, compassion, and peace to all your relationships now and in the future. May your marriage, whether current, past, or yet to come, serve not just your personal happiness, but your deepest awakening and the benefit of all beings. May you walk the path of relationship with awareness, compassion, and joy.